welcome this morning to the Ghana Enterprise Support Organizations Forum. It's wonderful to have you all. I'm Emilia and I'll be your MC for today. We have about 30 of us who are here and who have flown in from across the country. So a very special welcome to you for joining us. We know it was a long flight from where we arrived this morning. We appreciate the dedication in making it to today's session. The Enterprise Support Organizations Forum is jointly organized by the Ghana Enterprises Agency, the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program, the Ghana Hubs Network, and Impact Investing Ghana. Now, what is the collaborator? Why are we here? A while ago, about 20 hubs, accelerators, and support organizations came together. We decided that it was important that we collaborate, that we agree on the way forward, and that we put our heads together to agree, decide, and implement a strong action plan to provide quality enterprise support for ventures in Ghana. And so here we are today. We have put together the action plan, which we'll be sharing with you. And we thought that as a collaborative, it is very important that we come back to the table, take a look at the action plan, see that it's what we want to move forward with, and maybe make some suggestions and some ways, talk about some ways that we can implement it successfully. And so that is why we're here. And so we are hoping that your energies are flowing, that your minds are brimming with ideas, because we're going to be having some breakout sessions, and we are really looking forward to bringing all of our heads together to discuss these all-important topics. Here with us today, we have the CEO of Impact Investing Ghana, and the person of Madam Ama Lati. And as is tradition in Ghana, she will welcome us.
Good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here this morning and to see all these excited faces. A big welcome to those who are joining us online. We wish you could be here in person to feel the energy in the room. This is the energy that is around when change happens, when creativity comes together, and it's a great delight to be here. I'd like to welcome all our partners, friends across Ghana. It's a great pleasure for me to welcome you to the Ghana Enterprises Support Forum. At Impact Investing Ghana, we are delighted to be partnering with all the members of the Enterprise Support Organization Collaborative to drive more collaboration for enterprise support organizations. It's great to see government driving conversations with private sector organizations about how we can all together increase the quality and effectiveness of our programs. Impact Investing Ghana is the Ghana National Advisory Board for Impact Investing. We are an independent private sector-led initiative that is promoting sustainable development. And in Ghana, we are Ghana's representative to the Global Steering Group for Impact Investing, which was the successor to the Social Impact Task Force established by the G8. What we do is radical collaboration. We bring together actors from the worlds of finance, business, government, social organizations, and philanthropy to find answers to some of the challenges that we face as a sector. Our goal is to drive capital to solve real problems that Ghanaians face. Now, why is this important? According to Ghana's SDG Country Financing Roadmap, for Ghana to achieve the SDGs, we need to spend about 42 billion every year. And governments usually spend a little over 10 billion. This means that we need to find financing from the private sector into the projects that are commercially viable, and this is essential. It's essential for us to build that good society that all of us want. But to do that, we need a pipeline of businesses, of viable commercial projects that private sector funding could go into that can deliver outcomes like jobs, improvements in basic services like schools, hospital, transport, housing, and the list could go on. There need to be viable businesses. We need viable SMEs that can provide employment, And we need viable businesses that can help solve the climate and environmental issues that affect our everyday life as Ghanaians. So it was a great pleasure for us to host the Secretariat for the ESO Collaborative. Today we have delegates from across Ghana coming together to work on a vision for the ESO sector and to put together a collaborative plan of action that will complement the efforts being taken individually by all of us here. Efforts by government, efforts by the collaborative members, and by business associations and networks across Ghana. This forum and the actions that will come out of it is adding to that long list of work to build that good society. And with God as our helper, I'm confident that we will succeed. I'd like to acknowledge the collaborative members who have worked hard volunteering over the last couple of weeks to put this together, remembering InnoHub, NBC Africa, Reach for Change, Design Thinking Ghana, Ashesi University, the Ghana Hub Network, Repa Capital, Scale Up Africa, Seed, and Social Enterprise Ghana. You guys rock. Enjoy the forum, and we look forward to all the great next steps that will come out of it.
Thank you. The mark of a true CEO is when she can list everyone that's important without looking at a sheet of paper. I was waiting for that moment. When you look at your phone to check the last name. So thank you for prioritizing each and every enterprise support organization who has been a part of today's program. Just a quick side note, because of the COVID protocols, please keep your masks on throughout the program while indoors. Thank you. If you're just joining us online, we were just welcomed by the CEO of Impact Investing Ghana, Amalate, and she welcomed us warmly to today's forum. I would now like to invite one of our collaborative members who has been incredible in supporting and making sure that today was a success. He's in the person of Nelson Amo. He is the CEO of InnoHub. Thank you for joining us this morning, Nelson.
Thank you very much, Amelia. Let me give just a side note as well, that I am basically here because we can't call all ESO community members. So I'm basically wearing so many shoes, representing all of them. So I'm not here because I was so phenomenal, but the group just thought I should just be the servant and speak for them this morning. So having given that, I would like to also welcome everyone, and first of all, give thanks to Amalate for being an amazing pilot. It's actually okay to give a clap for Amma. She's a go-getter and a phenomenal leader, and it's been really great working with Amma to pull this off. It's been 2 years of conversations towards getting to a point where this has had to happen. And at that point, we kept asking, how are we going to pull this off? And someone like that had to come on to get it to where it is now. And for us as members of the collaborative, there's a number of questions that really drive what we do. And key among them is really asking, what kind of ecosystem do we want to see in Ghana? What is the Ghana we want? We keep referring to other countries. Last month, there was a report that came that there are about $419 million invested in startups in Africa. And the top countries you would have would be Nigeria, of course, there will be Kenya, there will be Egypt, and Ghana place is nowhere close. And so we have been asking the same questions. How do we make sure that our ecosystem, as it were, is popping, if I can go that way? How do we build a vibrant, dynamic ecosystem where you could see traction, you could see deals happening here? And we believe that ESOs are an integral pillar in that kind of ecosystem. Typically, you have investors who just come into the country and they're looking for deals, and they go back disappointed, and the story is that there are no deals in Ghana. And we keep saying, if you plug into the right networks, you plug into the ecosystem players, the ESOs who are working with the business you are looking for, you have a better chance of finding them. And this morning I was also having a chat with another AMA and discussing what are the deals. It's so difficult finding the right deals, you know. If ESOs really together define the kind of Ghana ecosystem we want, we would see much more vibrancy and more traction and more growth of the ecosystem, such that if we start listing the top ecosystems in Africa, Ghana will have a great place. These conversations we're going to have today are part of that journey, and we believe that we are here to make it work, whether we are here in person or virtually. We believe that we're here because we believe in that vision, and together we could build. It would take really a huge critical mass to get the kind of impact we want. So again, on behalf of AMA and the ESO Collaborative members, we welcome you and looking forward to a great session today. And most importantly, the conversations that will continue after today's few hours we spend here. Emilia, I know you are talking. I will keep talking as I wait for you. If you're done, thank you very much.
Now, since we're in a conversational mood, I won't let you run away. On behalf of the collaborative, give us 3 ground rules for today's conversation. Yes? 3 ground rules.
So 3 ground rules on the spot.
Yes.
You need to be magical to do that, but yes, I'll try. First of all, no idea is to be taken out of here. If the idea is in your mind, drop it before you go. You want to leave empty. Whatever you came with, you want to make sure you drop everything. So as we go into the breakout conversations, you don't ever want to belittle that this is not really good enough. In a brainstorming session, every idea matters. So please put your ideas down. Number 2, we want to make sure we respect each other's contributions. If you technically disagree, we don't use that word, I disagree with you, in this forum. You could say, can I add on to what he said? It's a more nicer way, more conversational way to get that done. So if you don't think somebody made a very good input, just add on, we don't subtract. 3rd one, I'm done.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for the 1-minute lesson in diplomacy. Please, may I add on? Thank you. All right. We had today, welcoming us as well, Mr. Josiah Edison. I want to give him a few minutes. He's waved at me. I'm waving back. Hello, it's good to see you. But Mr. Samson Abankwa is here with us. He is representing Madame Kosi Yankee, who is the CEO of the Ghana Enterprises Agency. She was very excited to join us this morning. Unfortunately, she couldn't. She's joining us online, I believe. Hello, Madame. But you've nominated Mr. Samson Abankwa to join us. He's the technical advisor. It's wonderful to have you. Please, the microphone is yours.
Hello, good morning. And thank you very much for the invitation. As she rightly said, I'm standing in for the CEO of the Ghana Enterprises Agency, Mrs. Kosi Yankee. She was originally scheduled to actually give a short address on today's program, but unfortunately, she was asked to attend an urgent call. So she has asked me to apologize on her behalf. And so kindly do accept her apologies. I take this opportunity to acknowledge Madame Amalati. You are doing fantastic in the ecosystem. I think I want to join the MC that we all give her another big round of applause. She has been doing very well. Let me also acknowledge Mr. Nelson Amo, the member of the Enterprise Support Collaborative team. Mr. Josiah, just join us. You are welcome. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, friends of the media present here today, Madam wants to extend a big warm welcome to all of us, especially those of us who travel far and near to attend this program. And to our colleagues from the regions and from the district, she says a big welcome to all of you. She said that a program like this presents a very good platform for us to take a little step back and look at the transition for an institution such as the Ghana Enterprises Agency from the elsewhere NBSSI. When she took over as the executive director of the NBSSI, she realized that the stakes were high. There was a reason for transformation. Transformation was imminent for the Ghana Enterprises Agency. And so the team at the Ministry of Trade and Industry, together with stakeholders like you, worked together to ensure that the transformation that was desired come into fruition. So in 2019, as a result of the work and the effort that we all put together, the National MSME and Entrepreneurship Policy was developed. Now, these are some of the importance of the MSME policy which is in place now. The first is that it was the first time and in the history of Ghana that such a policy was developed by Ghana for the MSME sector. The second was that the policy served as a blueprint and a justification for government to budget and commit resources for implementation, whilst ensuring that development partners align their technical and financial support to government based on any of the key thematic areas that have been enshrined in the policy. The policy also set out the necessary administrative, legal, regulatory, and institutional framework that transformed the NBSSI into the Ghana Enterprises Agency. And it clearly defines and classifies MSMEs in Ghana based on agreed criteria. It also provides a broad framework and clarity to defining the key challenges, opportunities, and critical issues of the sector, carefully defined and analyzed under these thematic areas that are presented in the document, so that we can provide coordinated support programs, favorable legal setup, and adequate financial support and human resource to support the sector. The policy also outlines clear guidelines and the requisite governance structure for existing businesses, prospective investors, funding agencies, service providers, and financial institutions and key stakeholders that work directly or indirectly in the promotion of the ecosystem. By so doing, government of Ghana, with the opportunity to establish the first MSME fund, was established. But by this, government believes that SMEs will be given another booster in terms of access to finance. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the main policy prescriptions of the MSME policy was the transformation. And the reason for this was what the team is discussing now, which are, i.e., duplication of efforts and ensure efficiency and the use of public resources. It is for this reason that the CEO of Ghana Enterprises Agency deemed it fit that he would have joined this program, because it speaks to the very core of what the Act establishing the Ghana Enterprises Agency speaks about: collaboration, and ensuring that we channel our resources to ensure that we move in the right direction. We are aware that within an ecosystem which is very complex and dynamic, like the MSME ecosystem, you are likely to encounter or have a lot of institutions who are trying to do their best to help solve the challenges of the sector. But we have resolved, and we are very happy that with the collaboration such as this, we'll be able to come together to channel our energies and our efforts in one direction to support the efforts of government. Youth unemployment is still a very serious challenge of the government. 12.6%, with 50% of them underemployed. So this is a serious challenge that government have to deal with. Public sector job openings are limited due to fiscal constraints. Approximately about 100,000 students graduate from tertiary institutions annually, and more than 50% of them enrolled in courses with limited or no job potentials. Ghanaian employers generally complain about the difficulty they have in filling positions due to misalignment between qualifications and required skills. To absorb the 10 million youth or youthful Ghanaians, government and the private sector will need to expand job openings by approximately 80% over the next 8 years. Ladies and gentlemen, this is only possible if the government encourages entrepreneurship and leads the youth in establishing their own ventures. It's for this reason that there are landmark programs that this government is implementing. The Youth Start, which is an offshoot of the Ghana Cares. We believe that a collaboration such as this will help us situate our energies and our attentions in providing the useful support that these youth are looking for, especially in working with Impact Investing Ghana to provide alternative financing through private sector funding. Mrs. Kwasi wishes the team all the best. We congratulate all the partners for a good work done, and we are available at GA to contribute and to support and helping this initiative move to the next level. On that note, I want to thank all of you for the invitation that was extended to the GA to contribute to the discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Samson. As enterprise support organizations, one of our success metrics is always how able we are to support ventures and enterprises in Ghana. And so it's comforting to know that the government is taking steps to build policies and to put structures in place to make this a smooth journey. And now we'd love to hear from Mr. Josiah Aiton, who is the chairman of the Ghana House Network. That's excitement. I see excitement. I saw you taking down some notes. Should I read it aloud? Welcome, Josiah.
So, good morning, everyone. While you guys were sleeping. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good. So, sorry I'm late. That's not my usual thing. I was stuck in a Uber that had too much mosquitoes in it, so I had to kind of sort that out. But yeah, pleasure to be here. All protocols observed. And I mean, as chairman of the Ghana House Network, it's a great honor to see a lot of my colleagues here. And for me, I think it speaks to the work that we're doing as, I would say, hub owners And like Samson rightly said, entrepreneurship is part of the whole agenda now. And the work that we do as hubs, we are supporting that agenda. And ironically, as hub owners, we also need that support, because whether it's in capacity building for our organizations itself, funding for our organizations itself. I know a lot of the CEOs in the hubs are generally tired of capacity building activities because they feel it doesn't bring money. So it's my job to convince them that it's something that we have to do until the time when it can actually generate money. So it's kind of heartwarming to see that Impact Investment Ghana is taking on this mantle to help us seek some funding and also support us with what it is that we do. So not going to take too much of your time, but I can honestly say you have our support in all the activities that you want to do with the hubs. I'm always available. If you need me to get my people together, I would. Because the work that we do for the entrepreneurs is very important, and we also need the support. So thank you for putting us here, and happy to see everybody, and looking forward to a great fruitful day. So thank you.
Thank you, Judah. And I know you don't speak lightly, because you have been very supportive in helping us bring all of the hubs together. So thank you. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of the CEO of the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program, Mr. Kofi Ofosu Nkansa. Thank you for your support. I laugh because I don't want to put you on the spot, Mr. Nkansa. It's wonderful to have you here. I know that you prepared something for us. We spoke about it earlier, and we're very excited to hear from you. Welcome. I'm loving all of the African print and the African vibes this morning. It's colorful, it's rich. Thank you.
Good morning, colleagues. Colleagues from state agencies here, Ghana Hubs Network, Impact Investing Ghana, other ESO collaborative members, Research and Innovative Systems for Africa. It is an honor to be here this morning as we seek to collaboratively work together to build strong enterprise support organizations to deliver growth to our businesses in our country. Indeed, this has come at the right time when government's attention is to build a strong entrepreneurial nation that delivers solutions to the perennial youth unemployment situation we face in our country. As we all know, there is a renewed focus on supporting the private sector as part of the overall efforts towards building an entrepreneurial nation. Government's strategy of transforming the Ghanaian economy to achieve inclusive and sustainable growth, with the private sector as the main driver to build the most business-friendly economy in Africa, and also to foster the competitiveness of Ghanaian firms. So I'll go through some of the major interventions government has been undertaking to support the private sector over the last 5 years, including ongoing ones. There has been various business environment regulatory reforms for sectors, including programs like the 1G, 1F, the Ghana Automotive Development Policy, and many others. If you go on the Ministry of Trade website, you see the list of incentives and exemptions, tax breaks that companies who want to come on board these initiatives can access as enterprises in our country. Also, there has been establishment of business resource centers across various districts to provide business development services to MSMEs. Establishment of technology solution centers in several districts also to provide technology and technical services to MSMEs. The strategic anchor industries support for sectors like garment and textiles, pharmaceuticals, and others. establishment of the Ghana Enterprise Agency. I know they are here and they have spoken about it. Export development programs by GEPA, SM Bank for export-oriented firms, and the Ministry of Business Development, which was set up in the first term to create a sustainable, business-friendly, entrepreneurial, and innovative business environment that fosters private sector-led investments and job creation. And under the Ministry of Business Development, we had my agency, the NEIP, which was relaunched from years to be known as the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program, with 5 clear mandates to provide technical support and business advisory services for startups, to provide training, incubation, mentorship for early-stage businesses, to provide access to funding, access to market linkages, as well as providing policy direction to strengthen the entrepreneurship ecosystem. And as you know, currently work is going on the Startup Act, spearheaded by GIZ and other players in the ecosystem. Over the last 5 years, under our programs at NEIP, over 120,000 businesses and individuals have received training and incubation services support in various business support areas. And about 10,000 of these businesses have accessed funding from NEIP, ranging from 10,000 cedis to 100,000 cedis. And we have some of our key beneficiaries as the bamboo for bicycle, which they export to the European and US markets, also shoes, Cafe Magnifico, Miakovans fashion and accessories, very much shoes, M&M, Express, which is a service delivery business, coffee farm and processors, and many others that we have supported over the last 5 years. One major area of support for the private sector is also the Ghana Economic Transformation Program, which is a $200 million facility government is getting from the International Development Association over a 6-year period to close in November 2025 to support various sectors of the private sector. The component 1, has to do with creating enabling investment, which will focus on enabling business environment, investment attraction capacity, and quality infrastructure support, and that is $35 million. Component 2 has to do with crowding in investments to focus on enhancing government programs and investment promotion and spatial developments, including the special economic zone, that's the free zones and the industrial park sector, which will address constraints to access quality industrial land for operations. And this is $79 million. Component 3, which I'm sure concerns most of us, has to do with accelerating entrepreneurship and SME growth, which will support entrepreneurship and SME growth in non-resource-based sectors, which will specifically address the limited development of the SME entrepreneurship support ecosystem, including early-stage financing, and that is some $80 million for that component. So let me delve into that component. The institutions which roll out programs for SMEs and startups will be strengthened so that they will be in strong positions to deliver support programs for our space. And this is the reform and rationalization of government entrepreneurship and support agencies. So here we have support for Ghana Enterprise Agency, NEIP, and Venture Capital Trust Fund. The high growth SMEs and entrepreneurship ecosystem strengthening component is worth $28 million. This is where we will have programs like management of market connect and entrepreneurship programs, technical support for tech hubs, matching grants, entrepreneurship ecosystem development, entrepreneurship hub benchmarking, and capacity development, and what like that. This is worth $28 million. So this is coming specifically to the space of most of the people gathered here. After the support is given to the entrepreneurship agencies and the hubs, the Venture Capital Trust Fund will be giving $45 million for venture financing for early stage businesses and strategic industries. So there is going to be a fund, a Venture Capital Trust Fund, where startups will prove their worth to be able to access this. And this will include support for strategic industries as well as technical assistance for fund managers and the like. The next support government has been given is the Ghana Cares Over Tampa program, which is the COVID-19 alleviation and revitalization of enterprise support program. And that is going to focus on startups and enterprises in areas like agriculture, light manufacturing industry, where we have processing of rice, poultry, cassava, sugar, tomatoes, pharmaceuticals, textiles, and government what have you. There's also going to be a lot of focus on the machine tools industry, so that the basic tools that we need to get progress in our industrialization agenda wouldn't always have to be imported from Asia. So we'll focus on digital economy as well, the ICT space, housing and construction, promotion of Ghana as a regional hub for financial services, for manufacturing, and other sectors. So as you know, under the Ghana Cares of Antapa program, for instance, NEIP just did a call for applications under a Youth in Innovative Agri program, and so far we received 22,000 applications from youth under 40 years who are interested in doing agriculture and vegetable farming, poultry, livestock, maize, cassava, and other crops. And very soon we'll start the training component of that support, and after that, do the disbursement of funds. So a lot is going on to support enterprises. Another important component of the Ghana Cares of Antapa program is the Youth Start program, which is a vehicle for supporting young entrepreneurs to gain access to capital, training, technical skills, and mentoring to enable them to launch and operate their own businesses. The Youth Start initiative is a key vehicle expected to create 1 million jobs over the next 3 years under the CARES program. And this will be 1 billion from government each year, and this 1 billion will be coming from the yield. In addition, we are expecting funding support from partner banks to the tune of 5 billion cedis as well as 2 billion from development partners. So here we are expecting about 10 billion cedis for the Youth Start program. And I believe if we inject 10 billion cedis in the economy, we can be able to generate the 1 million jobs that we expect to generate or create in the next 3 years. The enterprise funding support for the ecosystem has been tiered. The first level is where startups, SMEs go to NEIP, GA, Venture Capital Trust from Maslow, and other state agencies for funding support, usually between 10,000 and 200,000 cedis. The tier 2 is where we seek to get concession rate loans from the banks between 100,000 cedis and 500,000 cedis. And then when you grow to become big, you go to either EXIM or Development Bank, which is going to be launched to access 1 million cedis and above for a long-term period. So if you're in the textile industry and you are giving 2 million cedis to pay over a 10-year period, that will be very flexible. You have time to expand, to scale, and you can create jobs and also contribute to the economic growth of our country. So in conclusion, it is my hope that the purpose of this workshop, which is to present the work done by the various ESOs, to collaboratively seek the input for the proposed guidelines and quality standards of ESOs in Ghana, and work on the plan of action to engage the whole ecosystem to implement solutions to increase the quality and quantity of enterprise support will be realized. The government on its own cannot do everything for entrepreneurs in the ecosystem. It is better to ride on the shoulders of stakeholders like ESOs who have the capacity to deliver the right sector services to businesses. I believe this meeting will set the tone for us to begin to benchmark ourselves for the good of our country. Before I take leave of you, I want to assure you of NEIP's full support of what we want to do in the next 3 years, together collaboratively so that we can roll out innovative programs for the ecosystem. I accept the invitation to serve on the advisory board, and at this juncture, will declare this forum open. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much. If you're just joining us online, we were just welcomed by the CEO of the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program, Mr. Kofi Ofosu Nkasa, and he shared a lot of very exciting initiatives that I know that a lot of people in the room are very excited about, and might catch you a little later to find out some more information, I'm sure. But thank you very much for honoring our invitation. Today is a forum, which means we're going to be talking quite a bit and leading us to discuss how we can ensure high quality enterprise support in Ghana that delivers on long-term results, is a UK-Ghana board advisor and management consultant advising C-level and board executive of large organizations, and also the founder of B2B entrepreneurship development firm, Scale Up Africa, which designs and implements cutting-edge programmatic solutions with a focus on value chains, impact skills development, gender, and tech for large organizations. She's in the person of Madame Amaja, who she has been an incredibly supportive person for the Ghana Enterprise Support Organization Forum, and I'm very excited to be handing over to her as she leads our panel in discussing today's theme. Yes, please. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. So I'll jump straight to it and call upon Andrews, Anna, Amalate, Franklin, and Josiah, please. Our panelists for today. Round of applause, please. Great. So, welcome, colleagues. It's so good to see everyone here physically instead of on the screen. So we'll jump straight to it. We have a fantastic representation from our ecosystem. We've got government, policy, and money in the form of Franklin. We're looking for cash, so yes. We have Amalate, who is our CEO for Impact Investing Ghana. We have Andrews, our academic research guy. Anna Samake for NBC Africa. She does everything. And of course, Josiah. Thanks for joining us this morning. So we'll do a quick round of introductions in terms of how you sit and what you're seeing. But this is really a national conversation around how we can improve our own resources and the long-term funding we need to support a more vibrant entrepreneurship ecosystem. So Josiah, we'll start with you.
Okay, good morning again. My name is Josiah Aison. I'm currently the chairman for Ghana Hubs Network, which is the umbrella body for all the hubs in Ghana. Our membership right now is 52, and hopefully in March we'll have another 8 more hubs to initiate. So yeah, glad to be here and happy to contribute to the conversation.
Thank you, I've already spoken here, Amalate from Impact Investing Ghana. For us, it's about seeing collaboration to make the pie bigger, fatter, and more effective so that we can deliver on great enterprises for our impact investors. So we're delighted at Impact Investing Ghana to be here to be part of the conversation.
Hello, my name is Franklin Owusu Kakari with the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program. My CEO just spoke, and we are here as government to ensure that previous government don't want to be seen always in the public being exposed and criticized and given a lot of things, but we want to ensure that we also subject ourselves to good benchmarking, and that is the only way we can be able to ensure that we are accountable to the people, and also we can together deliberately grow a strong ecosystem. So that's why we are strongly part of this exercise.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Telemba Anna Samake. I'm CEO of NBC Africa. Somebody has a phone? I'm CEO of NBC Africa, which is a firm that provides business solutions to SMEs that are in agricultural value chain. That's why she says I do everything. It's not that I do everything. We really focus on agribusiness and food industry, and we have a value chain approach. That's why she has the impression I do almost everything.
Good morning. My name is Andrews. I work with the Minister of Professional Studies and in Impact Investing Ghana. We are just looking at how do we get our students to change their mindsets to think more about starting their own business, especially with the fact that there are no more jobs available. So that's what we want to learn from here, and we hope to get the necessary feedback. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you so much. So I think that the main issue is really understanding why we've all come together through Impact Invest in Ghana and extending our reach to the collaborative. Why is this work so important in terms of the role that we play in the conversation around national development? I'll start with you.
So Amma, it's important because we need to deliver jobs. We need to deliver businesses that can solve problems in Ghana. So ESOs have been working hard over the years in their individual capacities. But it's important for us to look at the ecosystem as a whole and ask ourselves, are there gaps in support for enterprises? Is there too much replication? Are there capacity gaps? Is the quality of programs the same? What are funders driving us to do, and how sustainable are ESOs? And be able to solve some of the problems that we face, because enterprise support organizations are also businesses and also need to be sustainable, viable, to be able to deliver those businesses that are needed to deliver jobs. And that's why this conversation is important.
So for me, I think before I start, I actually want to publicly say thank you to Franklin, right? Because whether you know it or not, without this guy, a lot of us would not be where we are today, right? Because he fought very, very hard in 2015 and 2016 to support hubs and literally work with us for the first time, government partnering with private sector to train entrepreneurs and everything else. So the growth of hubs that you see in Ghana since 2016, some people would like to take the credit for it, but for me, truth is the truth, is because of time. Right? So, and again, like rightly said, it kind of speaks to why we're here. We are grown now, and the world is looking at what it is that we're doing. And I like the fact that you talked about making the pie bigger so that everybody else can kind of get a share of it and be more effective in how we support hubs, right? Or entrepreneurs. I'm also glad that for the first time, nothing is about Accra anymore. We're looking outside the regions. And again, by virtue of how things are set up, Accra usually used to be the powerhouse. So a lot of the I would say knowledge and intelligence and everything was centralized in Accra. And we've seen why that now needs to kind of push out so that hubs can have a standard way of operating, so that entrepreneurs can get a standard way of, I'll say, support and training, so that we can have the great ecosystem that we want to see. So having all of these stakeholders here speaks to how serious we want to work together. So it's a beautiful thing, and glad to be part of that conversation.
Thanks, Josiah. So, Anna, what's missing? We're here to really build the quality and consistency of our delivery as consultants, as ESOs, as hubs. So, what's missing in terms of the structure that we need to progress?
I think we're going into the right direction. The foundation of any ecosystem for entrepreneurs is this collaborative conversation in what ecosystem do we want for Ghana? Because you have the national ecosystem, you have the sub-ecosystem in the national ecosystem. You can go on further down. It is important that we agree what we want to do. So you have the government, you have the government policies that guide us. We know that government has sectors that are very important, like agriculture, agribusiness, ICT, but also oil and gas, mining. You have a certain number of sectors that are interesting for government, and we as ESO, we should also support entrepreneurs in those sectors. So having everybody together makes it easier to agree on what are standards, what do we ask for an ESO, and what is an ESO for that matter. We know hubs, we know incubators, we know accelerators, who's doing what in Ghana, and how they're doing it, what are the policies, what should we have in terms of output out there, and how are we going to get this ESO to provide those services, quality services to the entrepreneurs, because we ourselves are entrepreneurs. by the way. So as Desire rightly said, as entrepreneurs, we need a specific types of support so we can deliver quality services to the entrepreneurs. So I think having everybody in the room is very important, it's key, it's fundamental. So once we agree, we have Amalati to implement some of the directions we're going to give her, and we're going to collect some pretty good impact in terms of job creation. Because you see, everybody talks about job creation without really saying how they're going to create it. Yes, who create jobs? Most of the time, MSMEs. But when you look at the ratio of resources that is dispatched between the different actors in the ecosystem, I'm not sure they're getting a good portion of it. So these are some of the things we have to look at.
Andrews, what are some of the solutions that we are going to be discussing and dissecting today for the work that we've done?
Quite interesting from various angles. So we are looking at how do we set standards for the ecosystem? How do we ensure that the kind of trainings that we offer are standardized, are customized, are tailored to the needs of the entrepreneurs? How do we ensure that the entrepreneurs are up to the level we need to treat them? Remember that with the entrepreneurs that we have in this country, there are various levels. How do we identify them? How do we ensure that we have unique propositions for them? That's very key. And we're also looking at how do we rate some of the programs that we do to benefit ourselves. So how do we ensure that we don't just come out and say we are running a program? What kind of program are we running? How do we want to run it? And what is the vision? What do we want to build in the future? Everybody is talking. I like your presentation. You did so well. But what is the future? What future do we want to see? By December, where do we want to go? Which is very interesting. So having everybody in this room thinking about how do we ensure that we are at that level, what we want to build, is very important. Thank you.
Franklin, you know when we talk to you, the inspire is coming. So we're talking about all the activities of NEIP over the past few years, and you have been amazing. I mean, everyone knows you and have relationships with you. Very much an open door policy, and willing to feedback into what we're saying through to the policy level, which is fantastic. But what would you say is missing in terms of your perspective from us as ESOs feeding into government? What do you feel is missing in that regard?
All right, thank you. Let me say that there's a saying that black people don't blush. Sometimes when some of these is for what you do when you are an entrepreneur and you've gone through a lot of rough edges, and God gives you the opportunity to be where you can make a change. You have to be able to ensure that all the problems you face, you solve them with the position that you have. And those are some of the things. So it's not just for doing it, but it's a passion, and also to be able to provide solution for yourself and for others. I did the way back 2017 when NEIP started. It was those days CEO organizes entrepreneurs in the golden tree, and he does the training, does the delivery. And at the end of the day, that is training given. But we realize that cannot be sustainable. And as of now, NEIP is still in court because one consultant felt that he's supposed to be training everybody in Ghana. But we needed to be able to ensure that we create a level platform where entrepreneurs can survive. And they can do this if they have some hand-holding. They have some people who are providing training, some people who are providing mentorship, some people who are providing them a guidance so that they can be able to grow their businesses. And this cannot be done by one-man consultants. You need people who sit with them in their communities, people who can visit them, people who can identify their problems, people that entrepreneurs can walk in and cry on them and say, I don't know what to do now. And that is what most of the ESOs who are seated here are doing for people in their communities. So how does government support them? We realized some gaps. So in 2017, we brought a number of actors in the ecosystem together at GamePad for us to start the conversation. And that's where we have come this far as an organization. And NEIP still believes that there's more that we can do to be able to provide that leverage for ESOs in the system. From our part, we see that they also are operating businesses. During the COVID, support were being given to businesses. And we're asking them, are the house also qualified to apply for COVID-19 alleviation fund? Because they also need to pay their workers. They also need to do all these things. but most often they are relegated to the background, but we see them as service providers. Now, when we see them as a business, there's the way to be able to provide the incentive framework for them to also survive as entrepreneurs. They are also providing services for, and so this has shaping the way we work in the ecosystem. And we're working very hard for the World Bank to do scoping from 2016 and ask NEIP, how we want your funds to go? And we said our funds should go to support ESOs, strengthen the ecosystem. And as my CEO said, $28 million is going to be pushed into this area to be able to provide capacity building, provide even infrastructure support. There are some houses you go there, you work in, so if you have get about $50,000, they can be able to pay their rent for about 10 years and survive as a business. So all these support systems, NEIP is working closely to be able to ensure that we can also deliver on these things. With this in place, we believe that when they are strengthened, even change of government will not affect the flow of work. Entrepreneurs will still know where to go. So the long-term plan for these things that we are doing from our end is to ensure that at the end of the day, a time will come, and not in the distant future, and NEIP will not be doing course for application. The ESOs will be empowered to be able to do the call for application, and they'll be given the funding to be able to also disburse and also ensure the collection and pay back into government chest as a revolving fund. That is the level we want to get to, so that nobody accuses government of doing a call for application and selecting food soldiers and party people to give them money. And that is the kind of credibility we want to give to government programs as we move on. And from the side of the various ESOs, we don't receive reports from their activities. We don't see the activities being published, what they are doing in the ecosystem. Let me congratulate Iloha. I get their newsletter almost every month. And sometimes you think that I don't read them. When I get them, I go through everything. I'm sure you saw when I get the newsletter. I'm on the mailing list. So when I get the newsletter, I go through to see what they are doing. So we want to be able to encourage them that we should also get feedback from the ESOs that, yeah, this is what we are also doing. Government can add this report to our report that the ecosystem is growing. And this is the level we want to take you to. And that is why we are urging every member also to become a member of the Hub Network. When we all have a papers body, it's easy to work with. But when individual differences and everybody trying to bite a piece of the cake, we end up fighting. There's a kind of problem. There's a putting through food. You know, that's an animal. They have one stomach, and because they have multiple heads, they fight over food. But they forget that at the end of the day, the food goes into just one chamber. So sometimes we all are fighting. At the end of the day, we are fighting to destroy ourselves as ESOs. So we want that kind of cooperation, collaboration. Then they can also feed government with proper policies and proper advisory. The government, this is what we think that it should go. You shouldn't always come to a workshops like this for us to receive feedback from ESOs. But there should be reports written to NEIP that from the end of the ESOs, this is what we also see in the picture. This is what government can also do. So these are the things that we hope that can be addressed within the system. Thank you.
Fantastic. But it's good to see the government recognizes ESOs as delivering a public good, right? So it means we need long-term support to enable us to do our work and have amazing results. Josiah is itching to say something.
Yeah, so I'm kind of letting it simply down based on the data thing that you talked about. So the network, from March, we're going to get a lot of our developers together to create a platform that all the hubs can feed their programs and everything into. The idea is to help track the startups and the programs and data that we put out, and we're going to then use that to feed the information back to the various stakeholders. So I'm glad there's time to put that information, and we're going to feed you with that. So thank you.
So Franklin is going to put all our mailing lists, our newsletters going out every week or every month or quarter. Great. So in terms of a conversation we had during this collaborative work, we were talking to our Delegates Foundation about their scale framework. And one element that came out was the ability and willingness of SMEs to pay for services. I'd like to delve into that a little bit. Should SMEs pay for services that we provide as ESOs? And what is the rationale around that? Because there was some evidence to show that those who do pay for services actually perform better as SMEs. So what are your thoughts?
Okay, so for somebody that runs the hub, I'm on the fence on that. It's a yes and no situation, right? We operate in an environment where a lot of individuals who want to start up their own businesses are either coming from not so rich backgrounds, and it's a knee-jerk reaction to lack of jobs that are becoming, right? And when they come to your hub, you offer those services. Initially, they will not be able to pay for them, right? So we need that funding, basic funding support to then provide support for these individuals, right? Now, when we get them to the point where they get funding, this is where they need to pay for the services, right? So for me, in the initial stages, we don't need to charge them because we can have partners that would enable us to do that. But then I think we might talk about the whole, I'll say, supply chain situation where investment is key. Because a lot of these startups that we deal with, in the end, after training them and they've gone through the pitch, they need funding. And this is where, if they get the funding, we as ESOs would then be able to charge them for their continual services that we offer them. So in the initial stages, let's set up a system where ESOs can be supported to provide services for these individuals for free, with the mindset that once you get up to this level and they get funding, then they can pay you for other services. I mean, that's from my perspective.
So that's the value chain approach we've been talking about, right? So as we progress, it should become self-sustaining as we go along to more mature companies. Anna?
Borrowing from Nelson, let me add to that idea and share a reflection, basically looking at the data. And so the work that Agidios shared was looking at data across Africa on what the business performance is of businesses, looking at over 100,000 businesses that have received enterprise support. Now, when businesses pay for programs, they may not pay the full cost of the program, but when they pay whatever they can afford for programs, they demand accountability for those programs. The level of commitment is totally different than when it's a free program. It helps to select people who actually need the service, and because it's a thoughtful decision, it's a purchase decision. They provide more feedback to the program on how to improve it, because now they care. They don't feel beholden to the program. They feel like a customer. And so they feel empowered to say, that facilitator you brought was really, really bad, and we didn't get anything out of it, and that needs to change. And so we need to begin to align the interests of the entrepreneurs with the delivery of the service, and charging something, even if it's something small, can be an effective way of doing that. And I know that Andrew has a story. He was telling me about how they charge their students. These are students for the accelerator program, and they saw all these benefits. He was afraid people won't apply. The applications went down, but the quality went up. And so we need to look at the research also, especially because a lot of us hubs really care about helping businesses. But we need to build resilience in the businesses by gradually putting them in situations where they can learn to sort of make decisions. We all see businesses that get a lot of funding, and they basically use the funding to go up a learning curve. Meanwhile, if they had been pushed with very little funding, bootstrapping, they would have learned so many important lessons along the way. So too much money too early, or even if it's not there isn't too much money in this ecosystem. So I don't think it's too much money, but money when you are not learning how to manage it and make strong economic decisions can actually hurt you because you are not building the resilience to manage your cash effectively.
And the entitlement factor as well. Because I remember walking to one of the hubs a few years ago, and they were running a program, and they kept saying, "Oh, this person hasn't turned up. They just didn't turn up. They'll come one day, they'll not turn up the other." So I think we do see quite a bit of that anecdotally. Anna, any thoughts to share on the charging issue?
I'm going to go in the same sense as my Josiah. We have to charge our entrepreneurs because they are our customers, right? Remember, we are also businesses. But you can do it innovatively because, as Josiah says, people have different backgrounds. We're in Africa. I always say the FFF doesn't really work in Africa because if your family you're so poor and your friends are so poor, so I'm not sure you're gonna get the food. So we have to have innovative ways of doing it. And this is what we work on, because my passion relies on how to solution with innovative ways for this kind of situation. At MBC right now, we charge, but we don't make you pay cash in the beginning because you're not cash positive. But we have a calculation system that gives us a certain number of shares in the company, especially for startups. Yes. And then at a certain level, we also, when we fundraise, we get some success fees. And later on, when the company is really strong, then the company is ready to pay. I have a couple of companies that really went through that value chain, as you said. Because you see, nothing is free in this world. We have to agree on that. One. Number two, if you want to be entrepreneur, you have to know, you have to put skin in the game. And it's not just talking it. And sometimes we have difficulties to weight whatever you're putting in the company before an investor comes. But this is something we have to teach them also, how to value whatever they put in the company before an investor comes. I agree with that, but you definitely have to find a way to charge so they know the value of money and they treat it well when they manage it well when the investors come. Because we all have glory stories about investment coming in and going in another way. I have one now, just 2 months ago.
Do some housekeeping now. I think we have a Q&A session coming up and some online questions coming in. So if anyone wants to ask a question on the floor, where do they go for a mic? So 1 second. So that's where you go. You can line up shortly if you have any questions or comments. So we'll take those in about 2 or 3 minutes. But do you have any online comments or questions?
Yes, we do. Can you hear me? Yes, all right. We do have a question from Mr. Evans Larry, and he's asking a question specifically to you, Anna, for NBC Africa. He'd like to know, how do we strengthen our commodities trading in Ghana to support small enterprises along the commodities trading value chain?
That's really. I think again, it's a collaborative work. So in Ghana now you have a commodities exchange, which is you don't have that in many countries in Africa. It's very good for people like NBC because we work with smallholder farmers, but we also work with those who process or big traders, even exporters. So it's a collaborative work, as I say. You have to reinforce each of the actors on the ecosystem because each has their specific issue. The smallholder farmers, how do you make them improve quality of production, volume, because off-takers and clients ask for specific quality. They have their standards, especially if you want to export. So there's a lot of work on that on the farmer side. On the processing side, these are small industries. They have their own challenges. Access to finance is one of them. How do you make them investment ready, structure them properly so they have access to proper financing, and then become sustainable market for those smallholder farmers. So these are some of the things that we do, but it's a collaborative work. I know the government is doing a lot on the production side. Some things that we can do as a small company. I think there's a lot of programs in that sense. So how do we work together? The leadership should come to. Sorry, Catherine. How you bring everybody that is working in the agribusiness or the food industry around the table. Again, the same approach we're having here, we should have there. Because all these are ecosystems. An ecosystem means multiple actors that you have to manage properly for the whole value chain to work. If one actor doesn't work properly, it brings down the whole ecosystem, the whole value chain. So I think it's the same approach we should have that we have at this point.
Wonderful, thank you, Evans. Thank you for your question. I hope that answers you. The floor is open. Guests, it's forum time. The microphone is open, so you can just walk up to the microphone and ask your question or contribution if you have thoughts on what we've been speaking about. please.
Thank you very much. My name is Abdurrahman GA. My issue is with reducing the education in regards to definition of what an MSME is. Because if you look at the definition of GA and what other actors also give, it's like there are slight variations. GA definition of a micro sometimes is different from what other actors, other ESO actors also do. So if you can actually sit and try to agree on what an MAC, like a micro enterprise is, a medium enterprise is, a small scale enterprises, so that we have one definition for them. Thank you.
I think that's a very interesting point.
Sorry, Anna. A few of us online have been struggling to hear, so if we can try to speak up, much appreciated. Thank you.
So that's a really good point. And it's not just about the definition of what an MSME is. What do we mean by product market fit? And when I sit in a hub in Tamale and I say I have trained people, they've built businesses, they've built a product, and now we have product market fit. Is it the same as the hub in Koforidua? We need to have a shared language, shared standards, so that when somebody says that I've built this enterprise to this level, we all know what it means. And it's important, that's part of this collaboration, coming to that shared language. And sometimes modifying some of those terms that are used elsewhere in the world to fit our own context. So that in Ghana, when we say this term, this is what we mean. And I think that is one of the conversations we should have today around a shared language, and we should continue having, so that we can collaborate more because we understand each other and we have similar standards, similar terminology.
I perfectly agree with you, and I think it's one of the things we'll be doing as part of the benchmarking for the ecosystem. We need to begin to have some level of standardization, some of our definitions, and even the way we operate as well. So it's part of the work that we'll be doing through the Northern projects to ensure that we standardize them. Unfortunately, GA is part of the partners for the project. So we'll ensure that some of these things are even our accepted definition for startup, and all those things we need to be able to begin to streamline so we can have our working definition in Ghana.
Great. Any more questions? Okay, how are we for time? Oh, sorry, I have one more question.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Ebenezer from TechFund Hub. Let me also use this opportunity to thank my boss, since he's also doing some accounting. I think he also needs to be appreciated. He's done a lot for. He's done a lot for the hubs, and I think that deserves the applause that he gets received. I also want to thank my senior manager also from InnoHub. He's also being supportive. But this question goes to Josiah again, my boss. We're talking about getting standards and then knowing what we want to do as ESOs. Do we have enough data to tell us what each hub is capable of doing, or what each hub is strong in? And if we do, the second part of the question will go to my senior Franklin. What do they also have in line with this kind of data in their actions or their value chain line to support this house to really find themselves on the strong footing to do the kind of work we do? I'm saying this on the fact that, for example, with my hub, we're doing some incubation now, but at the latter part of that, we need to do some acceleration, but we know we are not really solid on that. So we need to give that or some that other hubs who are really strong and solid in that area. And so if we have enough data like that, I think something should be done in that ecosystem for the past to come together. We shouldn't see ourselves as fighting for everything. We should know where we really prioritize and then when we do that together. Thank you. I think excellent question and the statement made, and I think a lot of we last year embarked on a project called Resilience program that we did with Lassetti and GIZ. And based on a lot of the data that we got, we realized that some hubs were in between phases, right? And it really speaks to because of the fact that the funding, the way we get funded for projects, right? We all try to survive. So you end up saying, oh, I do incubation, ideation, I do acceleration. In reality, you don't even know what it is that you do, right? And it's because if you feel like I say I do ideation, then a lot of the funding is taken from me, right? So what we need to do, and I like the fact that we're doing this with this particular project, where if we do the value chain approach, and then standardize everybody, so we put in categories. This is what you're good at, ideation, so that any project that is in relation to training people with ideas comes your way, right? So that ensures that you survive. And then in that, we are looking at ways in which we can also build your capacity to move you from ideation to incubation. So that along the way, we can bring in new hubs. So it's not like you're going to stay in ideation for the next 10 years. It's literally a 3-year gap where you're good at this, but then you move here. And that is where the external and internal capacity comes in, right? And hubs also, we have to be honest at what it is that we do. We need to stop playing that political game where because you know somebody, so you go in there and then go and get a contract, but then execute it badly, right? We need to be honest with ourselves and say, this is what I'm good at. This is the help that I need. And this is where the Ghana Hubs Network needs to come in. A lot of hubs, because we have our own personal connections with a lot of these funding agencies, we are able to bypass the network, right? But this is where, again, I'm going to put Franklin on the spot. He always refers people back to the network, right? Anytime you go to him, he will tell you, go back to the network. And I think funders also need to start doing that. Because if we want to raise those standards, we need to work with organizations that want to encourage standardization, right? So with your question, we need to train more hubs, them being honest with themselves and saying, this is where I am, this is the help that I need, and then give them those help, right? Rather than take them off the table. Because when we see funding going to one particular hub, we're naturally going to morph into that hub so that we get the funding. And you can't blame us because we're trying to survive. So if we want to create the bigger pie where everybody gets a fair share, then those of us, the gatekeepers, also have to be fair in how we deal with other hubs apart from just our friends alone. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point that you made in terms of institutions like Impact Invest in Ghana, the collaborative itself, the ESO collaborative. How do we really leverage our social capital, right? Our mutual recommendations. I can vouch for you, Josiah, because I know what you do. I can vouch for you, Anna, because I know what you're good at. So that we have a very clear line of sight in terms of the entrepreneurial value chain approach that some of us have been working on for all these years. That will translate into that kind of transparency and visibility that we want to see and help with standardization. Anna.
And funders need to also recognize this and fund along the value chain. Because if you focus on just one section, you bring short-term programs, if you don't fund enough, if you expect hubs to subsidize your programs and it's like take it or leave it because you know that they need to survive, then you're being unfair. And so with us having transparency, with us being able to rate programs and move hubs from here to there, funders also need to say, yes, we fund ideation, and yes, we fund here. And if somebody is wanting to start a hub, they can actually see what the ecosystem looks like and find the gaps and ask themselves, do I have the skill set to build an organization that can fill a gap? Instead of going to join a place that is overcrowded. And so it's important for funders to also change their ways. Some funders have very bad habits, and they know what the research says about what kind of programs work, but because of their own funding restrictions from where they're coming from, they don't design such programs. Some of them are rushed, last minute, and don't take a long-term perspective. And we hope that this group can really move that conversation forward to funders also.
There is just one suggestion, just to support the two of you. Something that I've been saying for years now. How do you, government of Ghana, channel all these program monies towards you, so you definitely will have more control on managing it? I know other countries have done it, but how do we do it here is the question. Because as Amalate says, every country comes with its own politics, ideas, aviation, or whatever you call it. It's a flag, and they all want their own reports. These kind of things are really where, I'm sorry, Frankie, we're gonna put a lot of things on your head that you can be really useful for us, how you federate all these funds, and it is managed, I don't know, in a fund of fund or whatever ways legally we can find, but then we have a better control of how we want to develop our ecosystem. Because the question is there. This is what we want, but you can't do it because even when money is available, you can't put it in it. So it becomes frustrating.
Yeah, I think we're running out of time. But I think, we have GEA and NEIP, the Venture Capital Trust Fund, we have Impact Investing Ghana, and we have the Entrepreneurs Enterprise Support Organization Collaborative. I think these are the key ways that, in terms of the chain of command, that's how the funding should also flow. So we can vet each other, standardize certain things, and have that level of control and transparency that we want to see. So we're out of time. My prince from Takrady. My prince is here. Go ahead. So after your question, we'll go to Andrews to set the scene for the breakout sessions, and then we'll leave it there. Thank you so much.
Right. My question is the help operations. Based on the feedback from the panel, I was suggesting it is a kind of suggestion. Maybe because it shouldn't always also be that the hub network would then dictate the kind of services that the hubs can run. But probably maybe there's some introduction of service standardization. Like for instance, everyone can wake up and start a bank, but then they need to go through, licensing and all that. You can't just do withdrawals and then, savings from people. You need to go through this licensing before you are allowed to do these things. So maybe if a hub wants to do incubation, maybe they should go through some sort of standardization processes to ensure that, okay, if this hub wants to do incubation, they've gone through all the necessary procedures, they've submitted very properly an incubation curriculum, listed the type of people they're going to use behind this incubation program so that they are standardized to do these things, but not the hub network trying to, also sort of dictate, because everybody sets up hubs by their own funds internally from scratch. So for me, as a CEO, I would feel a bit, sort of offended if maybe someone wants to dictate how I want to run my business. But then if there's a standard board that sees through that, okay, before I decide to run these services, I have gone through all the necessary procedures. I believe that will work for the ecosystem.
Thanks for a quick comment from Josiah. I thought I'd go into Josiah's section, and then we'll go to Andrews.
Okay, so thank you. The Ghana Hubs Network does not exist to dictate to hubs, right? We exist to ensure that there's a standard operations where hubs adhere to, right? So if we are going to work together, just like the way you see our logo with all of these other agencies, we have come together to agree that this is how we want our ecosystem to go. So the Ghana Hubs Network then will play its part to ensure that the hub members then behave in that manner. So we are not here to dictate to any hub manager how to behave in any shape or form. Now, but with the mentality of I'm the CEO, I've got my own money, I want to go and start my hub, this is where we are as an ecosystem. So if you want to operate, you need a certificate, then it has to come from the agreement from the agency here. There's a collective, it's not just the hub network, it's a collective. That's why all these logos have agreed to work together.
And I'll say one last thing before we wrap up with Andrew. This is the best in class that you have in Ghana, right? In terms of entrepreneurship hubs, consultants, funders, investors. We are right here in this room and part of this collaborative. So really it's about standards and respect and some order to this space, because there has been a lot of inconsistency and it's not helped any of us and what we're trying to achieve. So I'll leave it there. Andrew, let's wrap up.
Thank you very much. I think as we enter into the next session, we'll be able to give our feedback on anything that we have done, and then we'll be able to move forward and have an action plan from here where do we go next. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much to our first panel for the day, Mr. Josiah Abelson, Dr. Andrew Aiku, Madam Anna Samake, our CEO, Amalate, Mr. Franklin Owusu Kakari, and of course, our moderator, Amachaku. Thank you very much. There was a comment from a gentleman, he knew that time was up. I just want to share what he shared with me, and perhaps we'll find the opportunity to speak about it a little later on. So what he said is that a lot of the times we have ESOs who will announce to the world that they have, say for example, created 150 jobs, and you have another ESO that will do the same thing. And more than likely, there's about 50 or 60 of those jobs that are cutting across you. And so in the process of standardization, we need to look at how we are cross-checking and validating the claims, the impact stories that we are telling, and our claims to fame and the success stories that we're sharing. So that's just food for thought. And now I'd like to invite back Dr. Andrew Aiku. We began to put together our vision and problem statement. We started working towards developing our action plan. He wants to present a little bit of what the conversation has led to, and hopefully that will start our conversations when we break out into smaller things. Let's welcome with a round of applause, Dr. Andrew Aiku. Andrew, when I was little, you had to have gray hair to be a doctor. Times have changed. Or maybe that's why you shaved.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And, I think what we have been doing over the past period is to identify what are the key issues for ESOs. Taking into consideration the kind of support that we give to these entrepreneurs. How do we define the support? What is the uniqueness of what we offer? In fact, what is the vision of whatever we are doing? Where do we want to go? It's very key we take this into consideration. So we had time, the collaborators had meetings, several meetings to discuss, and we are presenting the findings to you. We need your feedback. It should be acceptable for everybody. And this is not the final. We need feedback. So we took into consideration what is enterprise support. And we realized that when we talk about enterprise support, it's sometimes referred to as business support. But what, in our context, what are we offering? In the Ghanaian context, what do we offer? What at all are we doing? And how are we doing it? So these are key questions we need to ask ourselves. When we define the enterprise support as non-financial services and products that we offer to entrepreneurs at the different various stages. So how do you identify the stages that they belong to? How are we going to do that? Then we look at what government offers, financial institutions. So we realize that the collaborators have all these institutions coming together to provide the services that we offer. So when you look at the functions undertaken by ESO, some of them we know: financing, marketing, project operation, research, and development. So when we look at what is available in our ecosystem, we can talk about financial, professional services, research development, and what some of us at the universities are doing in order to support the kind of work that you do based on research, based on data. During our meetings, we came up with different versions of vision for the organization. So the question is that where do we want to go? What do we want to offer? How are we going to offer it? What future do we see for ourselves? So is it just training for them to graduate and we are done? What is the vision for the system, for the ecosystem that we want to run? So we took two which we hope we will develop the action plan from when we leave here today. The first one we are going to look at to collaborate to build an ecosystem where ESOs strive, drive investment into their businesses, and develop businesses which are sustainable, innovative, cooperating, profitable, and support development of sustainable business environment in Ghana. That's the first one that we came up with. So we identified the key words that needs to be there, which I hope during the session we'll be able to come out. We agree, we don't agree, we think this words should be taken off, because we are on the ground, we are dealing with the entrepreneurs and the SMEs. We basically know exactly what they need. The second one talks about to collaborate to build an ecosystem that demonstrates leadership in the provision of world-class entrepreneurial support with thriving ESOs who collaborate to drive investment into businesses and equip them to launch, innovate, cooperate, scale, and become profitable and sustainable. So we have an opportunity to discuss this. What do you think? Do you think this works well? Can we identify ourselves? Is this where we want to go in the near future? Or we want something else? We are basically interested in your feedback. And we did a little research to find out what are the problems associated with the ecosystem. We came up with 6 thematic areas. And we have an opportunity to discuss that as well. The first problem we look at is the poor design and content. And the same applies to us at the universities when we are running our incubators. What kind of design? What kind of curriculum? How are we running it? Is it based on what the customers need or based on what we think we are offering? So where do we come from when we are saying that we are offering training programs? How is it standardized? We realize that most of the programs that we offer are unstructured, and programs are based on what we think we need to offer, but what not they are. So for the University of Professional Studies, we started running an MBA, we started running an incubator program. When it was free, there was no accountability. The moment you start charging for fees, even registration fees and other things, now when they are coming, we had a session on go-to-market. When the students enter, they want to know what is my deliverable. Because I've bought forms, I've paid for something. So whatever we offer, what are the deliverables? So we get people moving from one hub to the other, one training to the other, and when you ask them, what do you get at the end of it, they don't know. We offer finance for entrepreneurs, accounting for entrepreneurs. What is the standards? It's very important for us to discuss this today. Inadequate funding. Where are the funds going? Who has the funds? Where's the person keeping the funds? Why are we not attracting funds? It's very important we discuss this. So this is another problem that we need to find solutions and processes to identify. We want to get to a level, like the 2 visions that we have to discuss, that the ESOs will be at a certain level, providing certain customized programs that meet the needs. That is how you attract funding. The next problem that we identify are weak internal systems. How many of us have systems? What system do we have in place? People enter, we do training, they go. How do we measure? And I think that is why Josiah is saying that they are not coming to tell you how to run it, but they are coming to help you to build your system. It's about the system. You are the CEO, yes, but you need to have systems, and system drives sustainability. And that is one of the issues we identify. Another issue we identify are gaps in service. So what was the last time we did the research to find out what are the gaps in the services that we provide? When was the last time? But we know you know the gaps. That's why Nelson said, tell us everything here. There are gaps you have identified, there are gaps that resonate with you, there are gaps that we need to work with. So basically that's one of the things that we are looking out for. The 5th one is inadequate collaboration. So if we all think we are bosses, lack of coordination, inadequate, then we don't talk to each other. You do research, you go here, you say, no, this is my space, go away. So the University of Professional Studies is offering this program, you go to say, oh no, come, stay in your own corner. Why? How can we grow? The enterprise, Ghana Social Enterprise, is doing so many good things. But how many of us have invited them? Because we think we have our space. They should also stay in their lane. It's not good. We cannot run an ecosystem like that. We cannot build it. The 6th one is the inadequate program information accountability. Who are we accountable to? Our programs result oriented. And basically, what standards are we set for ourselves? What do we offer? How do we offer it? How do we make sure that we are lifting up the entrepreneurs, the ESOs, those we are training? How do we ensure that we are doing that? So the problems and the vision are what we are going to discuss next.
Thank you very much. Let's make sure that we create a real impact together. Thank you. Emilia. So Emilia will let us understand how this session is very important for whatever we are doing. And that's why we are here. Thank you.
Yes, Andrew, that is why we are here. We know that this session is very important, and so we want to feed you first. Isn't that wonderful? It's fuel for the discussion. So we just want to take a very quick break. We have coffee, we have juice, we have some snacks. The door is the one to my left. The washroom is to the left and then to the right if you need a quick break. When we come back, we'll begin our breakout sessions. I will come and share with you who will be facilitating each breakout session, and we're going to be discussing more about some of the problems and the vision that Dr. Andrew just shared. For those of you who are joining us online, it's been wonderful having you here this morning. This is where we part ways, but we are still going to be sharing a few snippets of what's going on online. So please join us live on Facebook. You can tweet your questions as well on Twitter with Impact Invest in Ghana. You can also share your comments on our Facebook page. It's been wonderful having you here with us this morning. Enjoy the rest of your day. To our dear participants, you can please now exit through the door to my left for our coffee break. Thank you. We will reconvene in this conference room in 15 minutes. In 10 minutes, I'm sorry. In 10 minutes, we're a little bit behind time, so it's a 10-minute break. Thank you. Do we need more time? Do we need a bit more time? Pencils down.
Yeah, so basically, I think it's quite refreshing to see your chairman standing by you, and it's actually good to start from there. So, yeah, so my name is Simeon, a member of Group 1, and we'll be presenting to you briefly our funding on the critical issue that we need to discuss. So, we totally agree with the vision, and we just wanted to add up to what we have been given. And in adding up, we are saying that we want to collaborate and build. So these are key words we are looking at. We are collaborating and want to build an ecosystem that leads in provision of world-class entrepreneurial support with thriving ESOs who drive investment into businesses and equip them to launch, innovate, cooperate, scale, and become profitable and sustainable. So that is the addition that we are bringing to the vision. And our key component has to do with collaborate, build in that regard. Focusing on the problems. In fact, I think that this has taken more than enough of the flip chart. But we'll take our time to discuss as we progress. So one key thing is inadequate funding. We agree that there's funding, but it is not enough. And then there's lack of standards in operations, which all of us here can barely agree to that. There's lack of quality skills. And in quality skill, we are looking at the human capital. We agree that there's human capital, but we lack the quality skills. Then going forward, we also look at the inadequate infrastructure, which is a key major problem to all of us. Inadequate needs assessment of the programs. So most often, we want to run a program, but we don't actually take our time to do a proper ecosystem mapping and visibility study on the location and target group before coming out with a program. So it affects the sustainability of the program. Then we also look at political environment, which I think has explained itself already. Then we look at lack of data. And saying lack of data, we are looking at quality data. Quality data that will inform our decisions and even rolling out the programs. Then we look at inadequate innovations and technology. And looking at innovation and technology, we're looking at data processing and management of systems, which is actually a key challenge that we face in our ecosystem. Still on the problem, so you can say that we have taken enough time to look at the problems. Right, thank you. So, again, lack of collaboration. Lack of collaboration. Then lack of centralized funding hub, where we can all go and know that this is where we can get support. Yes, we have NEIP, but we want a centralized funding hub that we can go into where no government, there's no yes. So duplication of what? Projects for funding partners. So there's a project running by MasterCard, another project running by GIZ, and when you look at it, it's the same. It's the same. Then there was a very critical question that was asked that gave us the answer no. And I think maybe we could reflect on that question. Yes, so the economic and social environment. No. And we say no. Looking at our current GDP, it is not stable. So it is totally no. It is not conducive at all. And looking at the regulation, that is another key challenge. We are looking at the business registration. Business registration. Investment capital, requirements. That is always a key. And now, the taxation issue. E-levy. So having said all this, we are bringing out some key suggestions as solutions that can help us address this effectively. Since we look at lack of collaboration, we are saying that we should collaborate now so that we'll be able to solve the issues. Resource sharing, so that it will not be just focusing on just one particular individual. And I agree on the part that it is no more about Accra again, but that decentralization is actually happening so that ESOs partnering with educational institutions so that there will be some harmony in our operation. And there's a key example that we can relate to, which is the Dwapa workspace in Tadi. Collaborating effectively with the Tadi Technical University is very amazing. Very, very amazing. Chairman, what I say, we salute you. Great job, great job, great job. And I think the centralized funding is here again. And we are saying again that the ESO's policy, we need an ESO policy advisor that is not influenced by government. An advisor that is actually working for all of us and not influenced by government. So that's going to be a liaison between the ESOs and then government, and we'll be able to effectively progress from there. Then funding partners collaborating in areas such as funding programs and designing of these projects so that we don't have a lot of the repetitions happening in that regard. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is group 1. And just as you know, number 1 take the vote. And we have declared ourselves the winners of the day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, perhaps any question for us?
Any question?
Since my chairman is here, let me give.
All right. I think we'll need a board, so maybe we value your flip charts. Please, we will take away the flip charts, so if you can protect them. Yes, all right. Let's welcome group 2. I saw them deep in conversation, so I know this will be exciting. Thank you, group 1. Welcome, group 2.
Okay, so group 2. We started off with this interesting analogy. We looked at the mother and the baby. So we attributed the mother to ESOs, and then the baby as the startups and the businesses that we are helping. So we thought that the vision should be captured in 2. So we have vision 1, vision 2. So not necessarily selecting just one vision as we sought to do. Yes, so 2 visions. Vision 1, concentrating on the mother, where we will focus on collaborating and coming up with frameworks and things that would make the ESOs thrive and vibrant. And then the vision 2 would be the output, what we would be delivering to the businesses and the startups that we sought to support. So that is my bit I'm presenting. So what we are doing, we all presenting portions of what we are supposed to do. So thank you.
Thank you. So as part of the collaboration, that's what we've demonstrated now. We realized that as ESOs, if we want to collaborate, there should be that line of relay of information. So in as much as there are going to be a body sitting on top of the ESOs, how then do we relay information? So that's when the mother comes in. If you're able to feed, if the mother drinks a lot of more iced kinky, that will be when they will be able to produce a lot of breast milk for the baby. Yes. Yes. So as part of the visions, we also made conclusion that it should be able to reflect environmental, social and environmental impact as part of the visions. Then I think the 2 visions are quite repetitive. And so that's what she made mention about in terms of more collaborations among ourselves, the real of equal information, equal access to power, equal access to knowledge, so that we could work as one body. Thank you.
So we're looking at the problems. We are talking about program design founded led, which means that a lot of the ESOs, the donors give a direction of how they want their programs to be run and the content of the program they design themselves. All this, the content of program are supposed to be tailor-made. It should be based on the actual needs of the startup that you want to develop. But they have already brought their own standard, and it becomes difficult for the ESOs to be able to deliver and have an actual impact on the startup. We talk about limited access to finance. We are talking about we don't have a pool whereby there is one particular source of area or a government institution or maybe a support where you get a particular fund from. It has been spread across that one has to send a proposal here, and here before you're able to access funds from this. And this one may come with a different criteria. This one may come with a different. So we need to have a pool of where there's a particular fund. And we believe that is also a challenge for us. And we talk about startup helping the startup themselves. We realize that the startup or the ESO themselves are business, and they are also startup, and they themselves also will need a support. But it seems like the funds available are all looking at helping the startup themselves by leaving the ESOs who are also key to the development of it. Then we'll talk about the genuine aspect of limited access to information. We're talking about where we don't have a platform where all of us could access a particular information, talking about the ESOs having a platform where information about funds availability, information about curriculum development, you can access it and use it for yourself and develop even to make or for your startup. So we don't have such platform also available. And we talk about the ESO unable to invest in startup themselves. We talk about they themselves just having training because it is funded-led program. So you're able to just train and you cannot provide them with startup for them to start their own business and then monitor them to grow. Then the other problem we're also talking about that the economic and social environment are not conducive. This answer we talk is no. Because when you look at the social environment, it is not conducive enough for the ESO to strive. And one of the points that we're looking at, the startup cannot pay for the services themselves. So we need to come out with an innovative way because they are business, they need to survive. And those people who are helping cannot pay for your services. What do you do? Are you going to help them or you're not going to help them? So payment of your own salary, workers that you pay their salary, you need to survive. But the service, they cannot pay. So there should be a solution that we need to address that particular problem. And we also talk about the non-government support for the ESOs. We realize that the government has a lot of support at certain areas, but because they have not factored in the ESOs in terms of what they are running and what their challenges, they are only looking at creating the jobs with the startup, forgetting that there is somebody who is a vehicle to create that particular startup. The notification of government programs. We realize that there was this NYA, there's GEA, there's this, there's that, there is that. Instead of us or letting them come together and have a particular MSc development agenda where all of them will address a particular challenge which is affecting. Everybody is doing their own and it becomes difficult for the ESOs also to operate. So when we get to the solutions.
Hello. Yeah, with a deep voice, right? Some of the solutions are in my head. We weren't able to bring all here, but you take it like that. Yeah. First of all, it's coming from my head.
Please, we can give you a flip chart. You can leave it before you go.
Okay, we will do that before we leave. The first one is from my head. We realize that most of the curriculum that the donor agents gives us are not structured to fit in what we want to do. So we were thinking that each time such a curriculum is being developed, they can involve the ESO so that we can also, because sometimes it's for a particular country, it doesn't fit in well here with us. So if possible, you can involve us so we can design the curriculum that will help us. That's from my head. Then number 2, there should be an open source. You know, all of us are training, we are giving capacity, we are doing capacity building programs. We wish there could be a platform where we have all this information, similar ones. So when I go to Hub A, Hub B, Hub 3, the same thing is running through. But usually, everybody has his own material. The way he'll be teaching business model Canvas will be different from how B is teaching. So if there could be a platform where we could put those information, not accessible to the entrepreneurs, but we, the they call it ESO, so we can have something similar, so there wouldn't be differences among us. Then we also said access to finance for the ESO. I'm a finance guy, and it's true. You know, you are hungry and you are supporting someone who is hungry. How can that be possible? That's a difficult task. We also need to get access to funding so that we can be on our feet to support the entrepreneurs. It's unfortunate that most of the funding that come, they focus on those we are training, and you want your money to be safe. And I or we that are going to help those people make the money safe, you don't take care of us. I'm hungry, and you're giving the money to somebody else. So they should also help us to fund us so we can get well-equipped facilitators to give good information or training to the entrepreneurs so that when they invest in them, those monies wouldn't go waste. Then this one is from my head. With the regulatory agencies, we were suggesting that there could be some dedicated offices or tables or desks so that when people or entrepreneurs that are working through us go there, they are giving special treatment. They don't go through the long processes, because after getting a competent entrepreneur with a good idea, he gets to standard board, GRA, and the whole thing is like the work we did goes to zero. So we are recommending that if special desks will be made available in the ministries or the various regulatory agencies, so when they get there and they tell them where they are coming from, they will be given special treatment. It happened in NEIP. I think it didn't succeed. They were trying to do that if they fund you and you go to regulatory agencies and you tell them you are from NEIP, they should give you special treatment. I think there should be a particular policy on that. It shouldn't be just word of mouth. Which one is that? Yes. Then there's another one from my head with the government agencies. You know, there is this instability of government, change of government. A whole agency doing well to support the entrepreneurs or the enterprises will just be brushed off when a different government comes and they start a new thing all over again. And it's not helping us. So we see our enterprises reapplying at every government that comes, which is not really helping us. And we also see that there are various agencies. We are all doing the same thing. MBSSI, there should be one body which all of us can fall under and operate. Is there something else you are adding? Yes. Then we were also saying that as ESOs, the government should give us some tax exemptions. Yes, most of the tax exemptions we see, they are age limited, related. If you are above that age, you can't access those exemptions. So they should consider us and find some exemptions for us as we are trying to help the entrepreneurs to boost the economy. We helping them should also be giving some flexibility to also operate. I think that is the solutions we have. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Team 2. Before you go, can you introduce yourselves? We want to see the mix of ESOs we have.
So my name is Michael Asante-Safero, Japa Workspace.
Hello. Yes.
Enoch Esel, GEA.
GEA, okay.
Pati Dobe, GEA.
I like to be called Ukutu. Yeah. I'm from Kumasi City Incubation Hub, a partner of NEIP and a consultant in finance. And also, there are a lot, don't worry.
Mary Abuchi, Seed Ghana.
Nelson Inahab.
All right, fantastic. Thank you. Group 1, we want to hear who we had in Group 1 as well. Are you able to just give us a wave and... Okay.
My name is Marina Kusi. I work with Ghana Enterprises Agency.
Naomi Paum, GEA.
Josiah, Ghana Hubs Network and iSpace.
Developers Academy, Simeon Mate.
Emmanuel Beva, Seed.
Fantastic, thank you. So Group 1, the vision they are adding on. Group 2, the vision they are suggesting we split it in 2. Yes, all right. Group 3, what are you suggesting for our vision?
And then, yes, you can introduce yourselves, please.
As we welcome Group 3, just to note that the two options of the vision were supposed to be two separate options, not two to be used at the same time. But of course, the suggestion to split them is great. And so it's about pulling things in and out, including creating two visions, if that's what the consensus becomes.
Thank you. Group 3.
All right, thank you. My name is Ebenezer from Tech Farm Hub. Before I even start, somebody is already taking marks. So I just want to state that we are not in competition with anybody. We are just bringing out what we feel should be done to support us. So that competition is what has brought us here. So we are taking away competition. Thank you very much. All right. Group 3, we wanted to put everything in perspective, if I should put it that way. And so we are saying that we should have things as crisp and straight to the point as possible. The vision for Google is to provide the world information in one click. That is the vision. Short and straight to the point. So we believe that our vision, even though we agree with every wording in what we have in both visions, we believe that it should be precise and crisp. So we said that it's encompassing enough. It has everything in there. The second one had world class, that is for the ESOs to be of world standard, which we are referring to as quality. If it is world standard, that means that the quality in there meets up with the standards everywhere in the world. And so there is quality. Then we also said that the vision is precise. With the second part, we saw that there wasn't a representation for standards. There should be a culture of collaboration. And these standards would have to guide how the various ESOs, the hubs, and the other partners and corporate bodies involved operate. There should be some standards that guide all these actions. Then we also said the social and environmental aspect of the projects that we run was not really covered in the visions that we had. So going forward, we would like that aspect to be considered. There should be the social and the environmental aspect. It's more or less profit-making, profit organization, and then it goes on like that. But there should be that social and then environmental touch to what we do as ESOs. Then we come to the third part, and we saw nothing wrong with it, as we said earlier. So we don't think that something should be taken out. What we think is that the wordings should be looked at and the vision shortened. And then for buttresses that point, that it has to be concise and crisp. You don't need to read sentence upon sentences upon sentences to bring out your vision.
Thank you, Group 2. Can we ask that you share a version of what you think that should look like? Not now, but
okay.
if you have one, you can share it with us.
Okay. We'll try and do that later on for you. Then the problems. Our first problem, we said unwillingness to pay for business support services. That is for participants. We realize that most often, or with most of the hubs, the participants we work with, the people we want to bring up, the startups and the rest, they are not willing to pay. The question came up is, can they afford to pay, or is it that they are just unwilling to pay? And it is double-headed. Some cannot afford to pay, and those who can even afford to pay are unwilling to pay. Then we said inexperienced personnel to deliver quality services and commit to program delivery. In-house, you sometimes have the deficit of personnel because the people you work with in-house, most are not really experienced. They've not even started a business of their own. They've never been involved in any venture like that. And you have these people now coming to train people to start businesses. You have never started a business before, but you are teaching somebody to start a business. That has some question marks. Then we said limited financial resources to effectively organize programs. That is something that runs through most of the presentations already, so I will not dwell on that too much. Fundamental program design problem. That has also been said earlier on by the two presenters, and it comes to bear again that the kind of programming we do most of the time even are replicated because of funding issues and other stuffs. Then politicization of program structure and delivery. It's been mentioned already. We are still stating the politics in how we do our businesses in the ecosystem is really setting us back because of whom you know or who knows you. Sometimes you are in the pole position to effect or organize some kind of program, but because you are not a friend to the person in charge of the program financing or allocation of that program, you don't get the opportunity to do that program. Limited funding to complete technical training offered to businesses. Then we also talked about high turnover of motivated staffs. You have staffs who are motivated, but sometimes might leave. Then you have staff who are not even motivated, but because of one reason or the other still want to stay in. And the turnover on these people tends to affect the ESOs. Limited M&E mechanisms to follow through. Most of the ESOs don't really have the mechanism to do monitoring and evaluation on the projects that they run. And that is one big problem that has to be fixed.
All right, team 2, we are running short of time, so if you can wrap up in the next minute and a half.
All right, so wrapping up, we've merged 3 and 4. And we are saying that limited capacity of businesses to meet funding needs required or requirements. Most of the time, there is a call for you to apply for funding, but you realize that the requirements that you have to meet for those applications that have been opened, most of the ESOs do not meet those requirements, and so it becomes a problem for you to access those funds. Then multiplicity of tax or mandate by government agencies, duplicated functions. We have the NEIP, the GA, YEA, NYA, BAC, BRC, and it looks as if they are doing almost the same thing. And so there is that duplication of roles. So if we can have a centralized agency to take care of these things, it becomes better. And that leads us to the last section with the solutions. Solutions. We are saying that we should have more collaborations. The collaboration should be internal and external. Internal, that is within the hub. There should be collaboration within the hubs. Then external, you have the agencies who support these hubs. They can also help in the line of collaborations. Then building local capacity, generating and accessing data to support demand-driven solutions. The data here, we can also look at it local and then external. there should be data available within the ESOs. Then within the organizations that support and partner them, there should be some kind of data to support the needs, if I should put it that way, the needs driven by these organizations. Then develop skills to mine data and create value, which also speaks up to the data that we need. Design feedback loop to consolidate policy direction, private sector feeding into policy by government. So we are saying that we should have some policy direction, and the government plays a bigger role here. But we are saying that PBE should also support in these policy directions. We have a role to play. There are certain things that we need to bring up to meet with governments in bringing out these policies, so that it doesn't appear that the ESOs are in a certain direction, government policies are in a different direction. We should merge at a point to make what we do come out better, because it's basically that we are all looking out for the same interest. On that,
All right.
we would end here.
And you can introduce yourselves quickly.
Introduce ourselves.
Hi, thank you. My name is Paulina. I am with Results for Development, and in this capacity, representing RISA, part of the funders for this program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Bernard Walker with NBC Africa, the Chief Circular Economy Advisor.
My name is Patrick Asafoja. I work with Ghana Enterprises Agency.
David Dankwayeboa, Agrico Hub.
And Esther Frifa, Ghana Enterprises Agency.
Richard Bansenyo for Ghana Enterprises Agency.
Thank you. All right, Group 4, I hate to do this to you, but now we are keeping to time. It's 3 minutes. Yes, please, Group 4. Thank you, Group 3. Group 4, please. So much color in Group 4. Beautiful.
The best is reserved for the last.
So quick introductions, and then we can jump into our presentation.
Thank you very much.
Hello.
This is Group 4. My name is Juliana Edubofo. I work with GE, presenting for Group 4. For Group 4, concerning the vision, we think it's a perfect work. You've done a very good job. But then we have a few things to mention that if it's part of it, it will help. So we are saying that from the whole concept, we can't find in it governance. There should be governance. Things that are going to regulate the whole ESOs, so that if someone wants to establish a hub or an organization like that, there should be some requirements that the person has to follow. And then we gave an example like the banks. Before you can establish a bank, there are a whole lot of procedures that you need to follow. And so with ESOs, we should have something like that, and it should reflect in our vision. Also standards. Yes, we can't find standard in it. We are saying that if there is a training, an entrepreneurship training, across board, wherever it's happening, there should be a similar, if not the same, a similar syllabus or a similar process that we should all go through, and show there should be some standards that we should all follow. We should see that in our vision. That's the first vision I'm talking about. And also, we are proposing that there is a word that's sustainable at the last part of the statement. And we are saying if you can change it to enabling environment instead of sustainable environment, because we have sustainable up there already. So it seems like it's duplication or something. We are saying ESOs can bring out models that can attract investment to grow the ecosystem. And there should also be a holistic collaboration for the ESOs. Considering the second vision, as I mentioned, we saw everything to be perfect, but then there is a word, equipping the business to launch. There is, if I can have a copy of it, we are trying to say that, yes, thank you very much. So to collaborate to build an ecosystem that is a leader in the provision of world-class entrepreneurial support with thriving ESOs who collaborate to drive investment into businesses. And so we are saying that drive investment into businesses and equip them. We wanted to know the difference over there. If you drive investment into the businesses, you are equipping them. So if possible, we can make it which equips them, if that is possible, which equips them to launch, innovate, cooperate, scale, and become profitable and sustainable. Thank you. So that's our thoughts on the vision.
All right. Thank you. We have about a minute. So perhaps you can highlight the problems that have not already been covered by others.
Okay.
Yes.
So with the problems, we are saying that there are no engagements with ESOs on product design. I think this one has been mentioned already on product design. The next one is timing. The timing for such programs. And so at the end of the day, it becomes the numbers game. Because we want to get the numbers, we rush in doing or implementing the programs, the time. And sometimes we wait till the last part or last quarter of the year and we need to implement, we need to complete everything. And so we rush through and we just look at the numbers, gathering the numbers. The next one is inadequate capacity, looking at mobilization of funds. The ESOs, one of our problems is that we don't have the equipped staff to mobilize funding for us. There's a problem with that. And then sometimes we work in certain lines of the funders, the people who give us money, the way that they want us to go. That is how we follow, and we leave out a lot of our scope. You know, each and every ESO has a scope or programs that the ESO wants to implement. But when you get funding from a source, they restrict you on what to do. And so at the end of it, you tend to toe their lines and you leave a lot of your work, which also doesn't help in developing or implementing our work. Okay, so quickly, the solutions. We had a lot because of the time. The solution, we are saying that there should be a very strong collaboration between the ESOs. We should strengthen our collaboration. And then we also leverage on our umbrella associations so that we can have one voice and speak. And when that is done, it will help us to, that's all, yeah. Thank you very much.
Who do we have in group 4?
My name is Gifty Volunkarimeko. I work with SEED.
My name is Seth Ahanagwe. I work with Tent Maker.
My name is Prince Obiakumi. I work at Akwatenka University.
My name is Enoch Abekubat Planteria. I'm with NEIP.
My name is John Samaka Amatefu, Eastern Tech Hub.
My name is Daniel Entry. I work with Africa Skills Hub.
My name is Aria Kajinji with Ghana Enterprises Agency. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. A lovely mix of government and hubs, government organizations and hubs. Thank you. Group 6, 3 minutes. Group 5, I'm sorry. Oh. I am sorry. Group 5, thank you. All right, we're ready.
Yeah, hello. So we are group 5, and we started with the 2 vision that was given, and we concluded that the vision have all the needed ingredients to support SMEs. And there were also clear outputs, so all elements were covered and also were sustainable. So on the vision, we later came up with this vision to collaborate to build an ecosystem where ESOs thrive, drive investment into businesses, develop and support businesses which are sustainable, innovative, cooperative, and profitable in the Ghanaian business environment. So we took away the second sustainable to be able to come with this whole vision. With the problem, a lot have been said already, and we just list them adequate funding, which as ESOs, we really need them to be sustainable. And a group also said we are startups running startups, so without funding, it will be difficult for us to move on. And one other key thing is in implementing our project, we don't really we don't communicate our project clearly to the MSCs to apply. So in the end, we have MSCs having pre-convinced outcomes. Because we don't communicate clearly, we get MSCs who don't really benefit from the project that we are coming, or not getting the success stories that we want from program that we implemented. And overlapping of effort, drawing funding. And we came to the third, that is the educational level of beneficiaries. Now, within our different ecosystems, the term entrepreneurship is not really communicated well to entrepreneurs out there. Others come in only for the funding, and if funding are not coming, they quit. So we have to look at how we are going to promote or educate startups to the term entrepreneurship. And we also have not much incentive for entrepreneurship in certain communities, especially my ecosystem Akami, which is a Galamsey prone community. When there was a ban on small scale mining or Galamsey, it really affected the community. And most of these are not interested in entrepreneurship because they don't see it viable enough or raising enough capital for them to be able to live their life. So there should be a lot of more incentives in those communities to be able to build the startups that we want to see. And taxes further reduce our capital and funding. So the government agencies can champion this for the ESOs around. And these are the solutions, effective collaborations among ourselves. So an issue was raised that ESOs enter into spaces of others. So if we are collaborating among ourselves, there's no need that we are entering into your spaces. We are coming in to collaborate to get our project done. And also adequate information circulated and effective needs assessment to be able to get the target MSMEs or startups that we want within our community. So I'm Ali Suleiman from TED Hub.
I'm Atu Hope GA. Maurice from Kumasi Hive.
Anata Abdullahi Merifa Capital. Emilia Ohinefiye.
Daniel, Eastern Tech Hub.
Daniel Senachome, GA.
Wonderful, thank you. A friendly reminder, just because the microphones have passed around quite a bit, if we can sanitize our hands, very important. Group 6. And thank you for the revised vision statements. We appreciate it.
They've done the job. What do you want us to say anymore? Okay. So for the group 6, on the vision, we agreed that the number 2 is probably the best from our perspective. It's very clear, it's succinct, it's, and it contains all the elements that we would want to see there. Meaning collaboration, ecosystem, and of course the impact we want to have on our different clients and customers. So on the problems, so we will separate here the ESO that are from public and the private sector ESOs because they have different problems. For the private sector, for example, sustainability is clearly the problem. people have detailed it in different manners, but when I say sustainability, it means that they have to have the right capacities. They have to be investment ready to be able to raise the money. Everybody says we need funding, but what are the conditions so we have access to funding? That we have to make sure we discuss about that. Issues with working with the youth. Yes, a lot of us have programs that are directed towards the youth, but working with the youth is not very easy sometimes. As one of our group members says, they're usually in transition, educational transition, he said. I mean, you train someone, you build the capacity, and one day he just calls you and say, oh, I'm gonna do my master's, and then that's finished. Yes, another problems for public ESOs is the political interference in the way they process applications, for example, for different programs. It could be very constraining. Go ahead. Problems, too much bureaucracy in some public sector agencies. Might not be the fault of those who are managing those agencies, but it's linked to the characteristic of being public and having policies that govern your agency. Inadequacy between funds available and funds that the ESOs need. This is both for the public sector ESOs and the private sector. What we need in terms of funding, for example, the private sector, globally, most of us will need, because we're startups, we will need equity funding, for example. Is it available out there for us? Probably not. And different solutions were given towards that. Another problem is the trust in the overall system, the whole ecosystem. We don't trust each other. And it comes out, collaboration. We've been talking about collaboration since the first day I set my feet in Ghana in 2013. And we're in 2022, and we're still talking about collaboration. So there's something that is not working somewhere. Unless we're honest with each other, we're not going to move from here, because trust is fundamental. Trust and patience, yes. The patient portion is related to financial innovation. You know, some of us innovate on how to develop financial intermediaries that can effectively give funding to startups. But it's very difficult to implement them because people don't trust each other. I know that at Engine Network, they tried a Susu model, for example, but it didn't work because of that trust and because people are not patient enough to let the financial model work. Definitely no. Like everybody else, we won't dwell on that. We all know it's not working. It's not conducive because of a lot of confusion. I think people have talked about it. Public sector and private sector doing the same thing. And again, there's no trust in the system. It comes back again. On the legal and the regulatory, it's about legal status. People talked about it. So the company code should integrate the social enterprise, for example. And we have the tax issues for both startups and SMEs in general, because they are really specific. So they should have a specific tax regime. And I think that Senegal has a startup act that gives a whole policy around the startup ecosystem, including the taxation. So on the solutions, everybody said it. Collaboration is key, but collaborate to do what? Collaborate, one, to design the ecosystem we want. Two, in terms of ESOs, we have to have our own, ecosystem built. Meaning for the capacity building, I know that I said that laughing, but we need to have, for example, an incubator of ESOs. So in working with VCTF, if you want to have access to VCTF money, for example, you've gone through the training in that incubator system, you have been rated to a certain level, so that means building standards, and then you can have access to that funding. This is an example, but this is what we should get together to do. is build capacity building systems, build, I think we talked about, we talked about collaboration with the public sector, between the public ESOs and the private ESOs, GEA, to take an example. We want to collaborate with them, so we should sit down with them at what that collaboration should be like. Because sometimes we come, we ask them questions, we ask them information and everything. And as he said, people don't even come back and say thank you or report what they've been doing with whatever data they've taken from you. So it's a bit frustrating for them. So concerning the solutions, this is solutions, right? There's so many of them. So for each of them, for the government, it should really concentrate on policies and giving us the right environment so we can thrive. But you have other actors that we don't speak about really. We all say we want funding, but you have different type of funding. So the value chains of financial intermediary, we should bring them on board to have this conversation, because if you're a startup, basically you need a specific type of funding, and bank loans are not your best solutions. And collaboration between all the ESOs to set up standards and a rating system. That is fundamental. This is how we will communicate with the rest of the world. When we say Ghana ecosystem for entrepreneur, we know the composition, the actors, the standards that we go by, the rating system. And when an entrepreneur wants to choose our ESO, he just goes on the database and he can choose whatever he wants, depending on what he wants or she wants. Thank you.
Thank you. Who did we have representing Group 6?
Oh. One of us.
Okay.
I'm Comfort Cook, GEA.
Ernest Gavon, Engine Business Network, EBN.
Kanemba Anna from NBC Africa and Samson from GEA.
Okay.
And I'm Erasmus from NEIP.
Wonderful. Thank you. Trust and patience. I think that stood out for me. Trust and patience. All right, Group 7. 3 minutes. After our presentations, we'll just take a group photo, and then we'll have lunch. Welcome, Group 7. Over to you.
Thank you. So we are Group 7, and then we started out by looking at some other organizations that support ESOs, and then individuals as well. So we outlined researchers, mentors, coaches, educational institutions, business advisory services. And we moved on to the vision, and then we settled on Vision A. But however, we added a portion. And so we said the ESO's vision should be to collaborate to build an ecosystem where ESOs thrive, drive investment into businesses, and develop businesses which are sustainable, innovative, cooperating, and profitable, and support development of a sustainable business environment in Ghana. And then the portion we added was translating into job creation. And so at the end of the day, after all the engagement, ESOs coming together to work, what we as a group want to see is that it translates into job creation. And so from there, we identify some of the problems that ESOs are facing. And then the first one is the inadequate skills or capacity. And then training, lack of training events, lack of limited training space, and an inadequate human resource. And also we looked at the cost of operation. And so for an ESO to function very well, we think that donors should look at sponsoring the ESOs as organizations, and then not just sponsoring the programs itself. And then we also outlined no standardized curriculum for training programs. And then the last one was the weak internal systems that we find out at these ESOs. And then on funding, the first one we outlined was the overhead costs. And so a donor would just concentrate on funding a program and then ignore the other overhead costs in their organization. And then the next one was no administrative support. So what we all know is that for donors, they support the program and then also support the activities in the organizations. But then in some cases, you would have donors not supporting the organization itself, administrative, human resource wise, and then they are focusing on the program. And so the last one that we outlined here was no capacity building or TOTs. So you realize that the ESO set out to run these programs, and then they don't build their capacity right from the onset. And then other organizations may have to come in after they've started running some of these programs before that is done. Okay, so the last one here is no policy intervention direct to ESOs. That's the last one we talked about. And then the last thing here was what policies or things in the legal and regulatory environment inhibit or create challenges for the work of the ESOs. And then we outlined the absence of a policy framework for ESOs and that limits the operations of the ESOs. And so after our discussions, during our brainstorming sessions, some of the solutions that we came up with was to put in place a standardized operations for the ESOs. And then also mandate the GEA, the NEIP to regulate the activities and operations of the ESOs here in Ghana. And then also to continue regular dialogue like we're having here today. And then regular training of the ESOs, standardized curriculum for training of the ESOs. And then also for the problem of funding, we suggested that donor foundations must not fund just programs, but then activities and operations of the ESOs. And then the next one was for government to establish a fund for incubators and accelerators here in Ghana. And then the third one was policy for work and operations of ESOs. That is the MSME and entrepreneurship policy must make interventions and measures for ESOs. So that's the last one. That was quick.
Yes, it was. Thank you. And you are?
My name is Naomi, Social Enterprise Ghana.
Hello, Naomi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Edwin, Social Enterprise Ghana.
Okay.
My name is Uta Kupok from Germany. I'm a researcher.
Thank you.
My name is Ira Osakoto, Women Saving Africa.
I am Samuel Gomashi, GA.
Okay. All right, wonderful. Last, but do know that you are not the least, Group 8. The only group with the extra paper. All right. A whole flip chart. We're excited.
And yeah, bro. It looks like G is almost part of the groups. All the groups. Wow. Right. Exactly. So for our group, we had a different thought about the vision. We added some key keywords, but we landed on the first vision. And then we said if we throw more light on these keywords, investment, sustainable, long-term SMEs, innovative, world-class, leadership, and inclusion. These keywords are what we believe that if it's added to the first vision statement, would make it really valid. And then also on the first problems, which is we had these additions to the problems. We had low level of exposure or experience, manage capacity, etc. We had which impact delivery. We had urban or rural divide, literacy, levels, restrict strong delivery or participation. We had inadequate stakeholders consultation as well as part of the first problem that was listed. And then on the second problem, which is funding, we said framing plus scope of funding should be relooked at, where we throw more light on the need-based and then also the beyond training funding as well. And then we said that timely payment of funding or project funds is also a problem. So we sort of added more problems based on what was posted there. And then also we said adequate provision for monitoring and evaluation as well should be also relooked at, because there isn't any support for some of these things, especially on most of the project. There isn't any funding for M&E and all that. We said quality, not quantity, should also be the focus. We should focus on quality and not the quantity, because some funders are interested in numbers than the quality of the project or the training to be delivered. And then we also said operational expenses should be supported, because some projects, I believe some of the colleagues also made that statement that some projects do not provide funding for operational expenses. So we're looking at supporting that. We also said unrealistic funding structures or tranches. So we realized that there are most of the programs ongoing funded by external parties, but the tranches are not supportive enough. Some provide 10% after signing MOUs and all that, and you're supposed to deliver a first, cohort and all that, which is not adequate. So we should relook at that. We have pre-financing burden on the ESO. So most of the funders want you to pre-finance some of the activities before, and obviously not all the ESOs are rich like some of the ones we know. And we we set an example like the GEA. Normally they have to pre-finance some of the activities before the money comes in, and that is not a good practice. If we want quality to be delivered, I believe that the funding should be made available. And then we said deliverables or effort on projects should be valued. For instance, some funders have a price cap for per head of training, and the value or the amount allocated is not enough. Hence, it has an effect on the quality of the training as well. So they should relook at valuing the effort being put on trainings like that, or the nature of work as well. And we have capacity building for HR, and also salary structure for some of the project implementers also should be relooked at. For instance, we have an example like some other partners that I know have international ratings for short-term and long-term experts, and we should relook at that. We have the systems, so we talked about the system, which was the third thing we discussed. We said ESOs, and then collective standards. So we said that there should be a collective standard across all the ESOs in terms of certain implementation effort. So when it comes to trainings and all that, we should have a standardized level of service provision as well. And we talked about project management discipline. We also talked about governance. So that was the third one that was part of the list of the problems. And we made more contribution to the gaps as well. So with the gaps, we said there isn't enough exit strategy. That is part of the gaps we've identified. There isn't enough exit strategy, like after training the people on probably how to start a business. After the training, what next? So these are some of the gaps that we highlighted. We said sustainability in the design of the project as well. We had beneficiaries, linkages, and partnerships. These are some of the gaps that we highlighted in our point 4. And then point 5, we talked about the culture of collaboration. We said these are some of the challenges: branding, advocacy, and also umbrella approach like the Ghana Hubs network and all that. We have the convene. We should be having more meetings like this to also share best practices and all that. So these are the culture of collaboration. And then 6, which is the programming information. We talked about the criteria, selection, signposting, details, funding, etc. Because we realize that for program information, startups don't know exactly what program they should be participating in and all that. So we as ESOs need to share clear information about some of the things going forward. And then we made mention of the stakeholders as well. This is our own personal addition. And we said that organizations like GEA should have enough resources. Like we throw more light on decentralizing resources. So resource personnel should be everywhere at the various districts, not just maybe headquarters like Accra. Like we all know, if you need something, you have to come to Accra and all that. We should decentralize some of these resources so that ESOs will have access to all level of resource personnel we need in our various districts as well. Thank you.
Thank you, fantastic.
Yes,
And
but
members,
just to introduce my team.
Yes,
I am with Prince Bonnie from iCode Takrade, and I have here.
Thank you. Dr. Stephanie Yavou from CESAC, Senegal.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good afternoon. I'm Janat Isifu, One Hive Ghana, Sunyani.
I'm Ajampo, Scale Up Africa.
Joshua Mehin, Hopin Academy, Tamale.
Dr. Sosu Jemfuaji.
Rachel Owusu from America Capital.
Thank you. So Group 8, you summarized the two flip charts into 2 pages. All right. I was waiting for the flipping. It wasn't coming. All right. Thank you very much. We're just about getting ready to have lunch. We just wanted to take a few photographs while we have the beautiful afternoon sunlight. So before we go into the second breakout session, I'd like to invite, do we need to warm up? Do we want a second to wake up? No? We're fine? All right, I love it. Okay. If we can invite back, I'm sorry, just want to check and make sure. Our CEO, Amalati, the CEO of Impact Investing Ghana, that's where you're going to see our CEO, would like to give a quick presentation on the skill diagnostic tool. Our second breakout session, we've been talking a lot about collaboration and about setting standards and developing a rating system. So she's going to share with us a little bit about the rating system, the skill diagnostic tool, and then we can go to the breakout sessions and discuss. Welcome, Amma.
Good to be back with full stomachs. Hopefully, everybody will stay awake. I'll try and go as quickly as possible. So, as we put together this meeting and thought about how to prepare, we wanted to look at the research that's out there because we don't have a lot of data on Ghanaian ESOs. So, we looked out to see what data there is on enterprise support. And we found 2 interesting data sources. One is the Global Accelerator Learning Initiative, GALI, which is a program run by the Aspen Institute that has been tracking data on what makes accelerators, as they are named for, enterprise support organizations, work. And one of their funders is the Agagios Foundation that has a focus on Africa. So over the last couple of years, Agagios has invested in a lot of ESOs across Africa. And they looked at the data from GALI and from their own programs and tried to come up with some learning, which we would like to share with you. So they've done this over 8 years. 12,000 enterprises shared annual performance data. They had 100 plus projects like programs and cohorts, 50 organizations and learning, some of them were, and then they had learning initiatives, research initiatives, and academic papers on different aspects of the performance. But it all needed to be synthesized into something that ESOs could do something with. And so if we can go to the next slide. And so when they looked at the kinds of ESOs, it varied. You had some that were, if you look at the top row, accelerators, some that were doing organizational development, some that were doing access to finance programs, some that were just a platform, some that were doing research. And some of them brought in cohorts, some of them did just a competition, and then they will award. Some of them did incubation, and you can see that there was a variety of the kinds of support that were provided. Next slide. And what they were expecting to see was these kinds of services is what makes accelerators work. If you do this and that, then the business will be able to grow. And they used for their success metric the growth of the business, its revenues, its employees, its business success as an organization. And what they found was, if you can go back, what they found was that the green dots are those that were doing well, the yellow dots could do better, and the red dots, they call them YOY. Did we give these people money? Those are the ones who did really badly. And so, as you can see, everywhere, whether acceleration, whether specific, we're doing a training on this, whether access to finance, there's a good mixture of strong, could do better, and YOYs. So what they found was that it wasn't the kind of program. So next slide. So if it wasn't the kind of program, then it was how a program was executed, more than the kind of support you provided. And in taking together all the data from Valley and their own cohorts, they came up with a 5-word approach of how. So it's not what to do. The what to do comes from the needs of the entrepreneurs you have in front of you. You give them what they need. But the question is, how do you do it? So SCALE is the acronym. The first is select the right enterprise. So if you don't select the right enterprise for your support, doesn't matter how great you are, you're not going to work because there's a mismatch. You will fail. The enterprises won't do well. The second was charging, not the full cost of the program, but something small, even if it's just a registration fee, to make it and this was a tool again to ensure that you selected. They found consistently across all programs that the programs that didn't charge, even some of them that had a lot of money behind them compared to those that charged, performed poorly. Then A is address problems, which is about the needs-based. Address the real problems that the entrepreneurs that you're working with have, and address it in a way that solves the problem. So you train a business on financial management, and when I go into that business, the problem is solved. Their financial management systems, and the team is able to manage its cash flow. We are solving problems. We are not training people. We're solving problems. And L is use business metrics to evaluate performance. Funders give you a long list of things to track. But in the end, if you want a viable business, then you must look at revenues. You must look at not vanity metrics, but the normal things that businesses that have good performance have shown over the centuries. Business is not new on this earth. And so drop all the other metrics, even if you are an impact enterprise, build it into your model and then focus on being an enterprise. Build it into your model so you know that this product has impact. And then focus on your performance so that you will be a viable business. And E, lead by example, is organizations that invested in their own capacity, either because somebody gave them money to do that or it was a priority of the team, did better. So they looked across and they saw that those that were improving year on year themselves in their internal capacity, in their governance, putting in a board, putting in a strategy, putting in their own review process about their own performance and grading themselves and improving. So that's the SCALE acronym. There's a slide on each one. I'll just highlight a few things. So the first one was You can't do a program for 3 to 4 kinds of entrepreneurs. Early stage entrepreneur is not the same as a mature entrepreneur. So if you just say we need youth and youth between these ages, and they all apply and you select, you will have a variation. And if you try and put them all in the same program, you will fail. Because some of the people who come in need A, some need B, and some need C. And now you are doing D for all of them. It's not going to work. So you need to decide the profile of the entrepreneurs that you want. And people who have come to your program and succeeded are your best referrals. Because if your customers, even in normal business, your customers tell their friends they think will like your business, and they come and buy, and those become your best customers. It's the same principle in accelerator support. And then segmentation is, if you get a cohort that is different, you need to segment them and work with them differently. And then there are multiple stages. So you move people. We've talked about the enterprise value chain approach, but it's an approach you also use in your program design. So on C, charging, it didn't matter how much. Some of the charges were ridiculous charges. But the moment somebody paid anything for the program, their whole attitude to the program changed. So, because cost has implication on who has access. So you don't want, this is not saying that we should use money to bar people who can't afford, but we're saying that let people think deeply about the program. Even if it's something like, I have to give up shares, I have to give up something, let them think about it so that it is something they are deciding to do because they value the services you're providing. Program design that address problems. Few programs, the programs that did not do a needs assessment and then decide on the specific content based on the needs assessment didn't do well. So yes, we want standardized programs, but it's the process that should be standardized, not the content. Because if you find a group, if you're a teacher and you are in teaching SSS and you have a class that can't read, what use will it be sitting there teaching them physics? You need to teach them ABCD and get them to read, and then you can move on to teaching them physics because they have to write an exam. It's not going to be an oral exam. And so it was about programs that did needs assessments, programs that used real-time problem solving. So they were action-oriented. The businesses were doing things in their business as part of the program. And you needed to look at the cost per enterprise. You needed to invest into the programs were not cheap per se because they were very hands-on and needs-based. And that selling, especially, was a key part of how to sell and pushing the participants to sell. Because in the bottom line, why do businesses fail? They run out of money. That's why they fail. And so if the entrepreneurs don't know how to sell, to at least show, even if they are not profitable, an investor coming can see the path to that, and they are making excuses about why they are not selling, then you have a problem. So learning by evaluating enterprise performance creates results. So if you are calculating how green your businesses are, which some funders may be asking, how green is this business? Is it like climate friendly? Is it dark green, orange green, or red green? And that's all you are measuring and sending them reports. It's going to distract you. You need to be looking at the business metrics. And both the normal numbers as well as behaviors and practices that you need to see. And in our part of the world, financial record keeping is a big one. You want to see that. And so you must track, you must be able to go to the business and say, yes, this one does it, this one doesn't do it, and be able to use that to rate the performance of the business. If we can go to the last. And this one is the quality of your team, you yourself. And we will share this with you on the platform. We'll share all the presentations with you. For example, are you able to plan? Are you well organized, well resourced? Do you have a strategy? Some of you may want to have a lean team and bring external experts to come and do your capacity building. That's a strategy. It doesn't mean that you must hire very expensive full-time staff. So is there a strategy? And then do you have governance? Do you have a board? Entrepreneurs that don't want governance typically don't want somebody telling them what to do because they may not want to do the right thing. If you are going to do the right thing, then your governance is, and Agedios Foundation told us a story of one of their grantees. They didn't want a board. In the end, they used the money to force them to get one because they wanted their money. And so they said it's a requirement. 2 years down the line, the entrepreneur came and said, this is the best decision that we could ever have made. I was drowning in all the different things, and I got my board chair has become such. He gives me network. He has helped me avoid all sorts of problems. All the things that I thought would go wrong didn't go wrong. But of course, you have to choose the right people who can support you. It's not every board that works well. Some of them are dysfunctional. So the other thing is that you don't have to do everything at once. 1 year, you are a small hub with maybe 5, 6 people, and you're doing SCALE. It doesn't work like that. Life is a progression, and your organization will be building on itself. So simple changes like now we have a selection criteria, and we've decided where we stick to. So even if we get a grantor come and say, just get me green businesses, because we know that we are good at working with this stage, we'll design it so that we get green businesses that fit into the stage that we're good at. Can be a small tweak like that. So they have created a diagnostic tool for you to, so it's a rating, but the rating is to assess yourself. Look at all the places where none of the greens scored 10 out of 10 in everything. All of them had gaps. The question was that they had improved over the 8 years. They had improved from year to year in some areas. And cumulatively over that period, that led to really amazing results. So it's about deciding that for you, business is a learning journey. You are going to be honest with yourself of where you are and gradually build the capacity to get to the other place. And I know for those who are working in government, it's not your business. It's the public sector. It's even more complicated because of all the issues around budgeting. So I don't know how this translates into your context, but we wanted to share with you the research. So basically, you do the diagnostic, you rate yourself, you look and you decide, okay, I can't do everything. I'm going to improve here and here this year. And you work on it and you see the improvement because you are tracking the data. And then you assess again and then you improve a little. So you will not jump from red to green all of a sudden, but you are in a certain direction. So there are a number of tools that go with it, but the good news is the rating system that Andrew is coming to share is based on scale. And we're going to discuss in our breakouts, one, the rating system itself, but also how do we use this? I mean, imagine an ecosystem where we can say we have 100 ESOs across Ghana that can deliver high quality programs according to the data. And they need to run their own programs throughout the year and not just be chasing projects. So we need to have an ESO fund where every ESO gets 100,000 cedis to design and run their own programs that they can run year after year. And at the end of the day, they will be able to deliver because we know that this is how the performance is, and it's based on research, etc. That would be a beautiful place to be, isn't it? Not chasing RFP to RFP. So the RFP becomes the bonus. You have your normal program like a university or anybody that's funded, and you then have other projects you do for other people. That's where we would love to get to. And I think that we can't get there. We can't get there. So I'll hand over to, this is an example of what the rating looks like. So for select, the dimension says, under it are dimensions. So one is establish clear selection criteria. And they ask you, do you know who your target is? Is your process useful to select the desired profile? What types of enterprises and at what stage are you best positioned to add value? So the diagnostic is asking you these questions. And they've given you 4 answers that answer this. 1, target state is clearly defined. So you score yourself 4 out of 4 to be high, and the scale continues. The next one is establish clear selection criteria. There you have 10 possible answers. And if you are high, you're at least 8 out of 10. And this is for you to be able to look through and say, okay, we need to improve our selection. It's not good. And it's simple. We can just change this, and this. And if we do that, we will improve our selection. So I'll hand over to Andrew now to continue. I see Mary is waving. Oh, yes. So we are doing a pilot with our Gedios on scale. We have a number of organizations that have signed up because they have current programs. They want to experiment. Before you do anything at scale, you need to test it. Make sure it works in your context. There may be a few things here or there that just don't make sense in our context. And so if there are any hubs that are interested in being part of the pilot, you have a current program and you're interested in doing a diagnostic, looking at your program and seeing how to improve, we'll pass around the sheet and you can sign up and we will be in touch to include you in the pilot.
Thank you very much, Amma. So as she said, we came up with, based on the discussions that we have been having, we came up with some few things that, is it on or off? Yes, sir. So one of the things that we came out with during our meetings was that whatever we are proposing is a self-reporting tool. Yourself reporting on whatever you have been doing. And we think if we are able to do this, one way or the other, it will help us to understand clearly what we are doing. Whether whatever offering we have speaks to the needs of the clientele base that we are targeting as well. Secondly, we realize that with testimonies that we've seen of institutions that have gone through such rating systems, it helps them to understand who are in the stakeholders industry. Who should I go to? Who has the expertise? And I think one of the gentlemen asked, so after training them on ideation and they need to go and train on something else, who has the expertise? How do we identify who will best suit what we want to do? And one of the goals of the rating system is to provide you with information about their performance. You want to know how you are performing. You want to know how Japa is performing based on the thematic areas, for instance. So I visited him on a project. He has a lot of things, but how do you ensure that this thing best suits the market? Now, the people who finished the program, yes, we know they've done it. What about those who didn't do well? What are we not doing well? Which curriculum are we using? Does it meet the standard or the quality of what we want to do? Then we realize that if we have a rating system, it also helps us to benchmark ourselves with each other. So for instance, the hubs. The next time the chairman will tell us that for these hubs, this is the benchmarking. This is the criteria we have set. So anybody, the new ones who are coming, they will know that, look, I'm entering into something that has a benchmark. You can't play your own game. There are rules and regulations to the game to be able to grow. But before we came out with this, one of the meetings, we were tasked to come out with what are the ratings agencies? What are being done? How is the ratings being done? What are people being rated on? So when we looked at the impact index, we realized that the metrics they use for ratings is one, job creation, investment, revenue generated. We provided, so when we share the slides, you understand basically the kind of exercises that we did. The second one is the EBN benchmarking. And we realized that they also had the same matrices. So we realized that my boss spoke about scale. So we use scale, we use the first one, then we use the EBN benchmark and realize that the same matrices follows. So why can't we propose something for Ghana? Why can't we propose something for our ecosystem? Why shouldn't we do something that will also guide our processes, our thinking, and what we do? So this is what we are suggesting. This is what we want to share with you today. This is what we want your feedback. This is what we want to build on. And we've classified it into clusters. The first one is that whatever we are going to use as the KPI, is it beneficial to the ecosystem? 2, these thematic areas we have identified, does it benefit the participants? And then thirdly, Does it benefit the program itself, you yourself? So for these thematic areas, we are going to look. So from what my boss presented, realize that with scale, do we have a clear selection criteria, which will be on a yearly basis? And this is what we are going to do. What is the quality of selection? Are we creating jobs? So the gentlemen, those people who we did provided them with have graduated. What next? How are you tracking them? They did one of them won some challenge award. So what next? Has he closed their story and now you are on the next batch? How are you following them? What capacity do you have? So these are key questions that I'm sure GUAPA will be a very good organization, better, because you understand the kind of products, end product that is producing, and realize that this will help. Then you look at the coaching. Who performs the coaching? At least we just bring anybody in to give coaching. And what are the coaching hours? Does the coach really understand? So if when you start going through this, you realize that there's not anybody at all can come and coach. Even the mentor will be selected based on expertise and based on and you track their performance. How many of us have been tracking our coaches and mentors' performance? They come, they talk, they go, everything is done. No. We need to set standards and we look at the total investment received. And when we are able to do this, so when we compare what we want to do with scale, with BIC Africa, the other rating systems, this is what came out. But we still need your feedback to enrich this particular document that we are trying to put together. So we are trying to create a website, a self-reporting website, where you guys will put your stuff over there to get feedback. Your own is for you. You are not going to share it with anybody. It's for you. And we are sure that it will help GEA and the other institutions to be able to track who are we helping? What kind of help are we giving them to enrich the kind of ecosystem that we have? So realize that scale falls into what we have been thinking, what we want to develop, and what we want to use for the ecosystem. We realize for the rest, there were certain things that were not in tune with what we are proposing. So for us, what we want to do is to discuss the proposed system which is based on scale. And let's fine-tune it in the context of Ghana. Let's take things out. Let's introduce new things, like the problems. So we are so grateful for the problems and solutions. We went through it, and we're shocked. New things we've not thought about. So that is exactly what we want you to do this afternoon. After eating, I saw what some of you were eating. So congratulations. So please, let's do this. And then we want people to volunteer. So my university, for instance, University of Professional Studies, honest companies, or few companies have proposed their readiness to pilot. Because I'm going to get the next cohort for a training. How do I select them? So do you know how I select them? The departments give me people. When they come, after a week or two, they stop coming. Exactly. So now I want to put in the various steps. So how do you recruit? Or you sit and the founder bring the people. Immediately they finish, you see them looking for work. What work have you done? You got what I'm saying? So let's look at that. And then track and share results to improve on what we are doing. It also helps us to increase. Listen, per research that we have done, we realize that countries that have ecosystems, that have rating system, when there's money available, they go and check who is self-reporting. What are they saying? Then they channel the money there. So you don't need politics to get money. Money will be based on your competencies, your result-oriented. And that's where, Chama, we should be getting to. Exactly. So you don't need anybody to come and dictate what you have to do. So please, Emilia, are you ready? Let's move back. There are some certain questions we need to work on. Please, have you shared the stuff with them? It's on the same document. Kindly look at it. We'll still be projecting. And we need your feedback. Maybe you think these KPIs are not the best. There are new ones that you think we should introduce. Are we in the same group? Emilia, are we going back to the same group? So please, let's do that now. And thank you very much. We are so grateful. Thank you.
So just for those who can't see in the back, number 1 is clear selection criteria. Clear selection criteria. Number 2, value charged for enrollment. Value charged for enrollment. Number 3, jobs created and sustained. Jobs created and sustained. Number 4, graduates. Number 5, coaching and mentoring per hour and the quality of coaching. Number 6, total investment attracted. Total investment attracted. Number 7, seed funding attracted. Number 8, partners. Number 9, events and alumni engagements. Number 10 is the governance structure. Number 11 is capable or structured team. And the final one is high growth enterprise or the program attractiveness. So these are the 12 metrics that are being proposed. Thank you. You can't see? Which one?
I see that. So are there different categories? Like, are there like must-have, core type?
The question again, please.
So are there different categories of metrics? Are there some of those that like should be core metrics that have a higher value or impact than others?
No, they are all the same. Yeah. But we want your feedback on that. If there's something that you think we should do that, why not? We'll be grateful. Okay. So thank you.
So I think the question highlighted something important. There was a question about whether these are rated in ranking of value. So whether number 1 is more important and needs to be focused more on than number 12. And we are saying that if that is what you feel, make it a suggestion. So that's the variety of feedback that we are looking for. Amma?
We've put the presentation in the breakout, in the WhatsApp group for those of you who are struggling to see. So you can see it in the WhatsApp group. And we did look at a ranking in a weighting in the original version. In the end, we decided that what is important has to be decided by the hub. So an overall score may not be useful because my hub may want to focus on it. So we thought, let's start on this as a program improvement tool. We need a lot of data to be able to know what the weights are. And if you are in one particular area, your capability in, say, coaching or in coaching and mentoring may be more important than someone else who is at ideation, for example. So the weights may vary depending on where in the ecosystem you lie. And so when we have more data, we probably will be able to do that better. We apologize for interrupting your conversation one last time. The sign-up sheet for Skill is going around. There have been a few questions. So this is a self-improvement program. You will not be sharing program data on a public platform. It's a spreadsheet. That is your spreadsheet. And you do a self-reflection yourself. If you want, you can get a coach or someone to work with your team through the diagnostic. But the idea is it's not a public system. So we're piloting to see, does this help Ghanaian ASOs to improve their performance? So you won't be it's self-reporting. So you yourself are reflecting with your team and answering these questions for yourself and then deciding with guidance where it's available, what am I going to focus on now to improve? And if you sign up and you have questions, Andrew and the rest of the team will be in touch to talk through the questions. So you can opt out if you're not interested after you hear more about the commitments.
would like to begin with Team 1, who's already giving me a lot of pressure. Team 1, you waved at me 10 minutes ago that you were ready, so this is going to be good.
Yeah. Okay, so good afternoon to everybody. Thank you all for coming back. I think this time all pens down. Thank you very much. My name is Emmanuel Beve, and I am with Seed. So our job is to basically look at the rating that has been given to us and also see how best we can also add up or subtract if you can. And there are questions that we have to answer as well. And so, yes, the first question has to do with whether we'll be willing to do the self-reporting. And our answer is yes. And we state some reasons
one,
why.
Please. Is it a collective answer?
Yes.
Each member said yes.
Yes.
All right. Just confirming.
Yes.
All right.
And we looked at why it's possible for us to do so and why we will be willing to do that. And the first is, yes, it will give us the access to all the monies that will be coming in, because the donors or the funders will want to look at what exactly we are doing. Okay, so looking at my records, I believe strongly that I will win the grant or whatever money that will be awarding me. And the next thing is visibility. Yes, I want to be known. I want to be seen in all the database that anybody at all will be searching through. I want to be seen. Okay, so visibility is key. Credibility, yes. Looking through my records, you can see that, yes, I'm doing well or I'm not doing well at all. That will show in there. So I want to be part of it. I want to be accountable, yes. So all the donors, they will look at me and say, yes, my reporting, my rating look very good. I'm credible for funding, yes. And also, we also look at hub-to-hub knowledge sharing. My hub can go in there and look at who is doing very well, and probably maybe I want to collaborate with you and do other projects as well. So that is key. So the next question, which is question 3, was talking about what will make you make an improvement. So our answer is program feedback, right? So the feedback that we get from programs would help us do that. And also the rating feedback. Okay, so it's not just rating us, but we want to get feedback from the rating agency or the rating platform that this is where we are and where we are lacking and what we can do to probably suggest what we can do to improve those areas as well. So that should be very much of a concern to all of us. And the next question is question 4. What will you hate? Okay, so this is very, very serious. In fact, when we get to a point, a lot of, the team members were, that kind of. Yes, sharing my data with a third party, that will be used against me. Because my rating could be very bad, and then you share it with somebody else that could seize me from getting whatever due me. Probably I'm lacking somewhere, and that I need improvement in. And because my data has been shared, probably without my knowledge, it has been used, self-used and self-judged, and to the extent that I've been taken out of probably whatever projects that would be coming. So that should be looked at very, very, very critically. Yeah, so that's embed into the lack of data used or unauthorized use of data. That is key to us. Okay, so what are some of the other areas that we think that rating can be done, or what we think we can also use as one of the key areas for rating? we look at community engagement and impact, right? So yes, what impacts are we making, or we are actually providing to the people? So we need to look at that. How do we measure that? We need to come out with some ways by which we can measure the impact you are making, because the money or the grant or whatever is coming to you is for you to better people's lots. And also beneficiaries feedback. Yes, I was telling my teammates that I did some programs with one organization, and I have not finished the project. Actually, I've not finished with the whole study, but every day they keep sending me feedback. Oh, they want to know where I was before I joined the program and where I am today. Every day they keep sending it. Sometimes I have to keep skipping it. But at a point I have to, do something and send to them. So feedback from the beneficiaries is key. So that we want to look at that too as well. Technology integration. This place also came up and we nearly abandoned it because we are looking at people who are living in very far from Accra and far from technology, and who are not making any way necessary into technology, but we still think that it's necessary. Now we have a lot of what do you call it, smartphones that you can use to get yourself, even if not website, you can have a blog. If not a blog, you can have WhatsApp group. Yes, if you don't have Facebook, you can have WhatsApp group. So at least we are looking at just some form of technology integration into your operations. That's very key. Founders feedback. Yes, what are the feedbacks that you got from people who are giving you funding? That's also key. We want to look at that as well. And then project reporting. Yes, this is to give us, probably question could be asked on giving out some few reports that you can share on the project that you've run. If you don't have it, it means that you don't have it. So you cannot provide it. That's it. So basically, these are some of the areas that we think that can be added to the rating list. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Team One. You are giving me so much pressure, but the plan was to start from Team 8 this time around. And you are giving me pressure. So, do you have something you'd like to say? All right, thank you. Do we have any comments? I think question 5, you have some very interesting additions, so thank you. Would like to invite Team 8 this time around, so that
clap for
Team 8.
When you get here, just say what Group 1 said, and we find, yeah?
So I'm King Solomon. Yes. Okay. So our group, we are adding on to so we all agree, yes, that we like to do the need assessment with our organization. These are some of the add-ons that we would like the team to input. Results-oriented team, that is point 11. Then content and curriculum on need basis, market-driven, and toolkits. Then media engagement and communication. Then why implement to achieve results and visibility, yes, to benchmark performance, access to opportunities. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, King Solomon. Because of my background, I'm excited to see media and communications in there, so thank you. So, Team 7.
Okay, so about the self-reporting, we also said yes, we are going to do the self-reporting. And what would make you do it? We said that it's because it will help us, if it will help inform us about our own performance and also about our program design, delivery, and also assessment or evaluation. About question 3, what would make you make improvement in your ESOs and what? We are saying that we need to have metrics and some measurement assessment tools so that it will help improve on our program delivery. We need softwares like this, a CRM that would help us capture data and also use it for reporting. And of course, we need an evaluator to guide and coach us whilst we are doing all that we are doing. Then the fourth one, what would make us, what we are going to hate? We are saying that when there is a breach of confidentiality and when the data is violating the data protection policy of Ghana, and when the ESOs are using the data against one another, particularly with ourselves. And the fifth one is, are there any, okay, so with that, we cited the eighth one, which is the partners, right? The partners. We are saying that there should be collaboration with other ESOs in Ghana. And mostly we find ourselves partnering with other development organizations outside Ghana and forgetting about ourselves as ESOs in Ghana. The local ESOs. The third one we also elaborated, which is the jobs created and sustained. We are saying that beyond the jobs that we are creating as ESOs, what are the business that we are training also doing for job creation? So we want it to be captured in as a metric. Then the seventh one is seed funding provided to businesses, and we should also be looking at gender distribution. So how many women have you trained? How many men have you trained? That should be factored in the assessment. Then we should also measure brand awareness. How far or how much awareness have you created about your business as an ESO, and the level of customer feedback and satisfaction. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Team 6. Team 6.
Okay, thank you. This is group 6. To the question, would you like to self-report your programs to a program rating system like this? We all agreed yes, everyone in the team. What would make you do it? So we have the view that the rating system for all the ESOs here will help improve our processes and service delivery to our customers. That's the businesses that we support. And to question 6, question 3, what would make you make improvements? What would make you make improvements in your ESO and what? So for us, we listed have an effective program which includes improvement in management and governance, growth in business sales, and the percentage of businesses that are able to raise funding. Then to question 4. So on what would you hate happen for us if an ESO is not performing on majority of the indicators? So 50% or more if you're not performing on so many of the indicators in the metrics. And then the issues of data fidelity and privacy. So this is more on the tech side of the system. How ESOs trust the system where there are no incidences, real or perceived, of issues of data in terms of the computation of the algorithm and all those kinds of stuff. And then 5, are there other matrices to be considered? I mean, some of them are there, but we wish there could be clearer matrices in terms of business strategy and the financial structure of the ESOs that are being rated. Thank you.
Thank you, Team 6. Group 5.
Good afternoon, everyone. So we're representing Group 5. So in regards to the questions that was asked of us, with regards to what you like to self-report of your program, whether we like it or not, we said yes. All of us said yes. We didn't. So we voted, actually. So you see our results. There's no pink sheet. It's just published. And then, yes, with regards to what will make you do it, a few questions that we asked ourselves was whether it was public or not, and it was clarified to us that it wasn't public. It's just for us as organizations to use. So therefore, because there's no back-end issues and data protection issues, we definitely want to use it. That's something we thought about. Then again, if it's going to go into such a program, we have to have access to how the data protection is going to look like, basically. Then we said the reason is because it also is a good tool to assess our needs as hubs. So that's one of the reasons why we chose to want to do at ESO, sorry, not hubs. Then having question 3 with regards to what would make you make improvements to your ESO and what, we said that through this tool we'll be able to have our needed capacities, resources, and networks. We can understand what it is to have all these components and utilize them for the benefit of organization. Then with point 4, what would you hate to happen? Since this is a tool that we expect for it to grow, the concern with regards to data protection also came up again. And also if your information is going out in public without you necessarily knowing anything about it. So that's also a particular challenge that we came up with. Also then using this as an assessment as a cut-out tool without providing capacity for the ESOs if it goes public. Basically feedback. So if you're able to identify, you've assessed yourself and all of that. If there's no feedback from, why you assess yourself, how are you able to know what to improve and what not to improve? So something like that. You need feedback as well to be able to build your capacity. So that's one thing we talked about. And then also it's an assessment to not providing, feedback. Sorry, I think I've explained this 2 ways. Yeah, it's powerful. It's good. Question 5, are there other metrics that need to be considered and why? We talked about the fact that we realized that it doesn't consider the number of years in operation by several ESOs. So for instance, this is like a generic tool for all ESOs, but how are you to determine if there's one ESO who has been in the system longer than the other? You can't put all of them on the same pedestal. If not, you might not necessarily get the proper information you need to make such sound judgments. So that's one. And then also the number of collaborations with other ESOs and what results that trend. We see partnership in there, but we don't know exactly what it meant. So just as feedback to the team, I think it's something you can look at. And then also some of the criteria also exclude ESOs who do not necessarily use cohorts or training. They don't have services that is that because not all ESOs train. Not all ESOs are into cohort training as well. So how do you classify them into the metric that you have here? So I think these are the things that we came up with. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. I think you have some very exciting feedback. So group 4, Morris, if you could drop the mic on the seat. Group 4.
Okay, good afternoon. Yeah, my name is Aria Kejinji, representing on behalf of Group 4. The question, yes, number 1 is yes. Based on the fact that all CSOs agree to adhere to their code of conduct of secrecy and keeping data confidential, then the answer will continue to be yes. Then why? We'll do that based on the fact that first, it helps us to first get to the right participant and also donors who support the activity. Then also it helps in the right timing and duration for the program. Then we also help us to assess the resources and also capacity or to deliver. When you are on there, at least you know your ups and downs, where you are lacking or not. Then you are able to know, okay, this is the resources you can get. This is the capacity building that you can also have access to. Then we also help to monitor our progress or the process in which we use in our activity. Then also to establish a systematic structure for the program. That is, when you move from A, where do you go? Then also ensure credibility of the CSO. Then on 3, that is identify gaps. Oh, okay. So we are saying that on the 3, what will make you make the improvement? When you identify so far as the system is able to give you the opportunity to identify your gaps, then that one, based on the gaps we have identified, then you'll be willing to make improvements. At this point, I will hand over to my colleague to continue. Thank you.
Hi. I will jump straight to 4. For the question is, what would you hate to happen? So as other colleagues have mentioned earlier, talking about leaking of confidential information, because after submitting all my information to this portal, if I go out and this information is there with a poor rating and with all my information out there, I will not be happy. So if we are sure of the site that we are going to upload the information, so we are saying that we want to know about the security of that site and how they are saving the information we have. All right. So one other issue we raised was that poor rating of initial assessment. So assuming that I upload my information and the first information I get is red throughout, I will just stop using the system because clearly I won't continue, And then the next one is no feedback. So if I upload my information expecting to get a feedback and there is nothing, then I will not use the portal. The other one is no support after the assessment. So now, or no recommendation. So I have read throughout, but there's nothing like recommendation on how to make improvements. Then I will not come back and use the portal. The last one is a non-interactive platform. So you don't want a platform where you upload information and you submit and it's taking 2 years to upload. We will stop using that platform. So this is what we don't want to see happening. Question number 5. Are there other metrics that need to be considered and why? So we are saying that candidate attraction channels, if it's added. So how do you attract all our cohorts? Where do you get these people from? I think it's something that needs to be considered. The next one is assessment of those who failed. So it looks like we are looking at all those who passed, the graduates. That's all. But what about the fallouts? Are you not interested? So I think we should consider that one. And the last one is no monitoring indicator. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you get all green, what next? Because if I get all green and I don't get associated with any platform that would endorse what I'm doing. It will also demoralize other people from using the
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Group 4. And now we are on to Group 3.
Good afternoon. Okay, I'm David and representing Team 3. So, with the first question, we all agreed that we want to be part of this rating. So, everybody agreed. And then, number 2, we said it will help us to improve our performance. And then we also facilitate experience sharing. It will also serve as a feedback mechanism. And then it will also help us to mobilize resources. We skipped number 3. So number 4, we said negative impact on my positioning. Like when you rate the person and then the person becomes or let me put it out this way. If he or she or the ESOs
All right. So basically, the negative impact on the positioning has to do with the results from the assessment. If the assessment result is going to be disseminated in a way that would impact negatively on the ESO, then that is going to be problematic. So that's one thing that would not, will probably hate about the assessment system. And then the issue of limited feedback channels to address the concerns has to do with whatever concerns that would have arisen from the assessment. If the ESO doesn't have that avenue to respond or make, talk about their concerns, then that is also going to be problematic. In terms of the metrics, nothing came up from the group. We seem to be okay with what we have.
All right, fantastic. Does any other group members want to speak? Any other group member wants to speak? Sure. All right. Thank you very much, Group 3. And finally, we have Group 2.
Good afternoon. With question 1, we also said yes. Yes, move on. What we hate is that our program will be a failure. Or when the assessment is being done, we are not able to make actual impact in the target area that we want to make, and that will hurt us a lot. We also talk about not getting the quality feedback in terms of when we're able to do the self-assessment, we realize that feedback is not coming. It also hurts us a lot because we cannot move on to the next stage without knowing our feedbacks. And then question 5, for the metrics, we thought you cannot use all the 12. We are not adding or subtracting, but we are looking at what fits best for the ESO. So, for instance, an ESO may select 5, which may be tailored to him alone or his company, so that you're able to assess it, but not to grade himself on the 12. Maybe there are things that is not related to him. So that was how our focus was on.
So in terms of also the number 5, I want to just make some few inputs. We will look at the jobs created and sustained. In terms of, so if SOs are being rated on the jobs created per their startups takes a number of time before they can employ people. So if a startup goes through a program, an accelerator, an incubator, that in the long run they do not have the capability and the resources, but the startups are doing well, does that mean that the ESOs have failed? That's the question. Yes. Thank you.
Indeed, that is the question. And thank you so much for helping us to answer a lot of the questions that we came with here today. Andrew, do you have any final remarks or comments about the feedback received? Amma or Mary, do you have any questions, anything you thought you might want to clarify? Or we are comfortable?
I think we are fine. So please, if you want to give more information, more feedback I'm available. Alma, Mary, the rest of the team. Just let us know. And we are grateful. Thank you.
Indeed, we are grateful. We are just about wrapping up. If you join us from Accra, we're asking that you please stay till the very end. I'd like to invite our CEO, Amalati, to give the closing remarks.
Thank you, Amelia, and thank you, everyone. I know it's been a long day. Everyone is tired, but boy, has it been a good day. Lots of great ideas shared, lots of thinking about the future and dreaming. And this is just the beginning. The hard work begins of co-creating something together, testing something together, being able to engage more with funding partners, and being able to push our ecosystem where we want it to be. It's not going to be an easy journey. These things take time. But if we are persistent and consistent like the startups we support, we're bound to turn Ghana into the best place in Africa to start a business or to grow a business. And I know that with God's help, we will be able to do this. So thank you all for coming. We shared some photo release forms. This is just because we've been taking photographs. So if for any reason your photograph was taken and you prefer not to have your photograph used, say in the social media post, it's good that you let us know.
I just wanted to acknowledge a few special people. There's a lady called Mary, who many of you have interfaced with. And without her, this program would not have happened. And let's just show Mary some love. She has an able partner in crime called Amelia, who was also our MC. And she did a lot of the planning of this. Let's give her some love. Thank you so much, Amelia, for steering this so well. And they have a team of technicians, Malco and his team, Justina, Irene, Victor, who have made all this happen. We want to appreciate them. Without them, we won't be able to fly all the way down here at such short notice and such a great meeting. Thank you.